Hey everybody, welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's see what we got here. Everybody hop on in here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I think this is a season of grace. It's hot in here. Welcome everybody. Let's see who's hopping on in here. Let's see if you guys want to do some Exodus or if you guys want to do some Ask Me Anything. Let me know. Let's see what's up with you guys. Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome. Hi, Reed. Welcome. Welcome, Hosey. Welcome. Hey, guys. Let's see what you guys want to talk about. It's Ask Me Anything time. Or we could do Exodus. Either is good with me. I'll be reading Exodus tonight anyway. So let's see what you guys want to do, what you guys are up to. Either way, it'll be fun for me. Let's see what's going on. Hi, Kevin. Welcome. Welcome. We're on Victory Life Podcast 7603. Doing Ask Me Anything. You guys can go ahead and hop on in here. Let's see what's going on. Hey, everybody. I mentally must be getting ready for Christmas gifts because I'm wearing Christmas colors. Welcome, everybody. Hop on in here, everybody. Will you ask me anything? That means you can ask any question in the whole wide world. I'm going to answer your question. So go ahead and hop on in here. Let's see what's up. Let's see, folks. Let's see.
Feminists spewing their idea.
All right. Let me get my other platform live here. Whoops. Well, that didn't go as well as I thought it would. 1 second here. Try that again. Since I dropped
you guys today.
Welcome, everybody. We're about to do Ask Me Anything. If the questions are a little bit low, then I'm probably going to hop into Exodus. So let's see how it all shakes out. Welcome, Decor. Welcome, welcome. Because either way, I'm going to do Exodus by myself tonight. So let's see what happens. Let's see what you guys want to do. Let's see if you guys want to do Ask Me Anything or if you guys want to do some Exodus. Let's see. Everybody go ahead and load up your questions. Pop your questions in the chat. If you would just flood the chat with all of your random questions, and then we'll go from there. That's the plan. Let's see what we have. Let's see what we have. If we've got tons and tons of questions in the chat, then we will, then we'll do Ask Me Anything. Let's see. Welcome, everybody. Be sure to like the stream really quick. Share the stream. We're live on Victory Life Podcast 7603. We're on Victory Life Podcast 7603. We're live, Victory Life Podcast 10. We're going to do a few Ask Me Anything questions. If you guys have questions, pop them in the chat. We'll do Ask Me Anything. And then later on, I'm going to just be here reading my Exodus. So I may opt to do that, some of that with you guys, and I may opt to not. Let's see. What's going on, Les? We're doing a little bit of Ask Me Anything to start with, and then we'll hop into, I'm going to personally go do my Bible study. I might do it with you guys. So go ahead and hop on in here. You guys just go ahead and flood the chat with all of your questions. It's Ask Me Anything, which means you can ask any old question in the whole wide world, and I'll take your question. But you guys know how to do it. You have to load up the chat with like a million questions, and I can just go hit them one by one. So let's do it. Let's do it, everybody. Let's see if you guys have questions. TikTok, come on in here strong with the questions. TikTok's been in entertainment mode lately. They've been just listening in. And now what's interesting is it flips. Like TikTok used to ask all the questions, and then it used to be that YouTube was just hanging out. And then now it's YouTube asking all the questions, and it's TikTok just hanging out. And then last time I went live, I had a few questions from each platform, so that was fun because I had to kind of go ring around the rosy. Alrighty, so I have my first question. My first question comes from YouTube, and you guys, every platform, flood the chat with your questions, and then I'm gonna take any question that you have. Flood the chat with your questions, and I'm gonna start taking all your questions. First question comes from YouTube, and it's Ask Me Anything, so you can ask any question. I'm definitely good with your spiritual questions. Definitely good with your health questions. I'm a registered nurse. I'm a seminary graduate, all that good stuff. But you literally can ask anything. Anything at all. Anything at all. Just pop it in the chat. Alrighty, so let's see what we have here. And don't forget, everybody, go ahead and like the stream really quick. Everybody hit like, boop. Everybody hit share, boop. I'm going to start with Ask Me Anything, and depending on how it goes, we'll go from there. And then I'm going to be reading some Exodus on my own. That's my plan for the Sunday night. I had an option of working or doing Bible, and you know what one? Bible wins every time. Okay, so let's start taking some questions. You guys go ahead and flood the stream with all of your questions, and then I'm going to answer your questions. I'll even be nice about it. I'll try not to say your name. So if you have like some kind of private question that you kind of were like needing advice for, then it'll help. Some of that. Okay. My first question is Jovi1 asked this question. Actually, I'll swing back to yours because let me get this first one over here, and then I'll come back to yours. Hang tight. First question is, do I have any chronic illnesses? Thank God I have none. Thank you, Jesus. He is our healer. So thank you guys. I do not. Hey, MW, welcome. But yeah, thank God I don't have any chronic illnesses. Thank you, Lord. I heal, so I'm not sick, so that's a good thing. But you know what? Here's the thing. There's nothing like a sickness that'll test your faith, because I have been critically ill before, and it built my faith is all it did. It built my faith. And now I understand in my mind how to fall out of agreement with illness and not let it take over. You know, it's an agreement thing in your head. It's as much that in your head as it's as much spiritual sometimes as it is physical. So I don't agree with sickness. I use wisdom, obviously. If you have like some kind of like infection, or if you need something surgically cut out, then half at it. But I'm not, although I'm a registered nurse, although I've worked in ICU many years, I'm not hugely into like let's intercede with like cutting and chopping and this and that. Like, I think there's usually a healthy means of handling things, a natural way of healing your body, or a spiritual way of healing it. So I'm all about doing things as much as you can naturally, everything. Alrighty, so someone asked me, how old am I? I am between the ages of 25 and 50. Someone says, what's my favorite color? I have no clue, but I look great in royal blue, teal, pink. I actually have no idea why I'm wearing red today, because red is very funny. Red is a good color, but you know, you have to be like, today I got sunburn. That's one thing that happened. So my color is off right now. My skin complexion is off because I'm burnt, but it's all good. It'll go away. But it's making me look weird in red, in my opinion. You know, maybe it's not a fact, but it's making me look weird in red, because now whatever reds I had don't really make sense anymore. Would I ever consider going on Roblox on live? Actually, I'm not a gamer. And I think that might be a game, and I don't know much about them. So I probably wouldn't do that. I'm more likely to do video editing live. I always talk about, I should just share my screen and do video editing with you guys. I just haven't done it. So I'm far more likely to cut videos like on the live and share my screen. I'm far more likely to do that. And if I did it, it would have to be on YouTube, obviously, where I can share my screen and still be live at the same time and then record it. I'm much more likely to do that. Alrighty, let's take some questions from another platform. And go ahead, pop in the chat any questions you have. You can literally ask anything. What's more important, loyalty or love? And which one should come first? Oof, y'all, here they go. They start with the good ones. They start with the good ones. I have a firm opinion on this idea of love. That's a good one. That's a good one. I'm not sure who asked that question, but hopefully you're a regular on the channel so that you can always ask good questions. I'll say this because it's a complicated question. I think the first piece of this is to like qualify the word love, because, and I love hearing questions like this from men, y'all. I love to hear that because a lot of women are like always thinking that men don't consider this concept of love, or they don't think about love in relationships and marriage, and that they're not itching to get out of their singleness. And I think those are lies. I think there are plenty of guys who think about their future. And when they think about their future, they think about, their wife, their 2.5 kids, all of that. They're thinking about those things, and they're trying to figure out how to be prepared for those things. So I love the fact, that this question comes from a man, because it like renews our faith in the fact that there are plenty of men who are actually, they do not just think physically, they actually think, I'm looking for a wife, or I'm looking for love. To tease that question out, I want to first start, and if you guys are just hopping on, the question was, what's more important, loyalty or love? And which one should come first? We're on Victory Life Podcast 7603. Hop on over here. IG has like a weird view, but YouTube's got a pretty good view of me. So it's Victory Life Podcast 7603. And be sure to like the button and subscribe as well. When you first talk about the importance of loyalty versus love, I think you first have to qualify love. And I always look at love, and we can look at love from the world standards, people outside of the Bible, and look at like the Hallmark commercial like version of love, the Hall Channel version of love. And as far as I'm concerned, the world can keep that version of love, because to me, that's not real. Like, it's not real. That whole fairy tale version, that's not real love. To me, that's more so a fantasy where it's like prompted by Disney, more or less. But it's not really sacrificial. It's not really long suffering. It's not really those things. So when I think of love, I'm thinking about the love that God has for us. And if we're talking about that kind of love, I'm all in. But I don't often see a love that is like sacrificial, long suffering, and those kinds of things. I more often see love that people in the world are calling love, but it's actually either lust or it's transactional, where you do this and I do that. I perform this and then you do that for me. I more often see performance-based love, which I don't think that's... should we do things to be like nice to our partner? Of course. Of course we should do nice things for our partner. But I think love, the kind of love that I love to see, and I've seen, for instance, I've seen my parents been married over 40 years. I think they might be married almost 50. And whereas I personally have had a divorce, so, fail on my part, but I've actually seen marriages over a long span of time, and that's helped me to enabled me to have more of a like a leveled mindset about what love should actually be. And what I've observed over time is that real love is a kind of love that you're choosing. That's what I think. I think real love looks more like, I think it looks more like loyalty, because you don't feel the love thing every day. Like, you don't feel mushy, and you don't feel that every day. But I think when you're loyal, you're choosing to love someone even though like they've made you mad, or they've disappointed you, or they failed in some way, or they messed up, they literally blew it in some way, but you're choosing them anyway, and you're choosing to do something nice for them. I don't know, I kind of think that looks a lot like your husband blew it, he messed up some kind of way, but then you choose to cook him breakfast anyway, like you normally do, even though he doesn't deserve nice breakfast. He's been behaved badly. Maybe he doesn't deserve it, but then you're like, wait, this is my husband. And I want to show him that I know how to move in love, even though there's a transgression. I think that's more of a definition of love. And that's, I mean, you can call that loyalty. I think that's really what love should be, because that's how God loves us. God loves us despite the fact that we transgress him all the time and that we're imperfect, and he loves us anyway. And it's long suffering, and it's never ending, and it's not conditional. It's not based on any conditions. And he doesn't just chop us off and cut us off just because we fail in 10 different ways. So our love is like that. And if we could learn to love like God, that would be unbelievable. So I think if I were to answer your question, what's more important, loyalty or love, and which one should come first? I don't think love comes first. I think probably friendship comes first. I think friendship and mutual respect come early. And alignment with values, all that comes early. And once you see you've got mutual friendship, you've got alignment with values, you've got respect for one another, I think that's kind of an earlier phase. And then after you do that, you decide to be loyal. You decide to choose someone. And in choosing someone every morning, even when they blow it, that is actually the definition of love. That's what I think. So I think love comes far later. And I think it'd be great if people would, like back in the biblical days, people were basically arranged in their marriages. They weren't like all this mushy, mushy Hallmark stuff. They were more like my mama and my daddy and my nana and my pa ran put us together because they thought we'd be good. And now we're on the aisle. I think they were put together, and I think that's not a horrible idea, believe it or not. I know that's kind of a weird construct, but I mean, if my parents paired me with somebody, I think I'd be okay. Number one, they have great taste. They know what's attractive and what's not attractive. I trust them. They're both cuties. So if they put me with someone, I know my dad's gonna make sure that like this guy's gonna do what I do for her. Like, is he gonna provide and take care and make sure she's safe? My dad's military, got guns, and it's provided. So he's not gonna go hand me off to someone who does less than that. So so yeah, and they know how to pick. They know what's attractive and what's not attractive. They could figure that part out. I could trust that. And back in the day, that's really what was that was how things worked. It was simply that. So yeah. I mean, I think so much of it's a choice. I think so little of it is the mushy feelings. Those things come and go. People make you mad, they aggravate you. Sometimes you just want to like boot them out the house. Sometimes you want them to go sleep someplace else, sleep on the couch or something. All of that weird stuff is happening, and you can still choose to love someone. I think you should just do it and not go to bed angry either. That's what I think. Yeah, I think if you were to give me loyalty or love, I would probably say loyalty is more important. But if you're loyal, then you're loyal holding my emotions. And then you're also loyal with respect. So if you have someone in your hands and you're loyal to them, I think loyalty is more important, because if you're holding them and cradling them in your hand with loyalty, you're like, wait, I have this woman or this man in my hand. They're in a vulnerable spot. They really need safety and protection. I'm going to choose to do all these things because I'm loyal and I know that I've got them in my hand. I'm going to choose to be, emotionally intelligent. I'm going to work on it. I'm going to choose to be loyal and faithful. Even if I mess up, I'm going to choose to run back to them. All that kinds of good stuff. I think when you're in that loyal space, that at some point, the other person is going to feel the feeling of love, because it is so sacrificial to choose someone every day, even when you don't feel like it. It's so sacrificial. If someone is like, if you're not at your best and you've not had your best moment, and then you turn to somebody and they can still hug you and forgive you, that'll make you break down and cry right there. That'll change you for life right there. So That's what I'm saying. I'm saying when someone has such integrity with how they love and such forgiveness and such heart, they'll fall. Like if you've got your partner doing all that and acting like that, the person's going to fall in love with you, even if they didn't intend to. Because who's ever felt a unconditional anything like that? Who's ever felt that? You know, I think it's so much a choice. But yeah, I say get rid of all that mushy, mushy stuff. Nobody needs that. You know, that mushy, mushy stuff lasts for 5 days. And then on the sixth day, you change your mind. And on the seventh day, you got divorced. Forget all that mushy stuff. Like at the end of the day, that doesn't keep you married. Feeling mushy goes away. And then what are you going to do on the day that you don't feel mushy? You know, like what's going to keep you married on a day you don't feel it? Because there are going to be days you don't feel it. You don't feel them. They don't feel you back. And you're still sitting there. So that's when respect comes in. That's when you choose them. And that's where you keep it moving. Alrighty. That's a good question though. Thank you for that question. Keep flooding the chat with your questions, and I'm going to keep taking your questions. Pop anything in the chat. It's Ask Me Anything, so you can literally ask any question at all, and I'm going to take your question. Be sure to like the stream, share the stream, all the good stuff. Ooh, hi Port City, welcome. Let's see, just double checking here. Making sure I didn't miss any. All right, next question. I see a question here. Would I ever take back someone who cheated? You said you personally would not. Ooh, this is a very good question. Y'all, let's talk about cheating really quick because we've never talked about cheating ever. And I actually have very firm opinions on cheating. Very firm opinion. And I will probably never will change. And don't tell anybody, y'all. Don't tell anybody these opinions because this is private. So first of all, let's talk about the evolution of it, right? And I haven't always been in this position, but I've had to learn something over time. Someone who I look up to in my life, an elder, and y'all, we should have someone like spiritual elder, an elder, or like a woman of God in our lives who we can trust and can hold some of these things and guide and steward us. For men, you guys should have like an elder or a deacon or a man of God who can help you think through things without so much emotion, because once emotions get involved, we blow it. All right, so the question was, for those of you guys who just hopped in, the question was, whatever takes someone back who cheated? And the response for this person says, I personally would not. So I have evolved over time from my younger days. And when I was younger, here's the story. When I was younger, there was a woman of God who advised me on this topic, and I'll tell you how I responded. I was like, so I've been married before, and I had a woman of God tell me, like, early in my marriage and before I got married, hey, FYI, in case something happens, I want you to think about if your husband transgresses you. I want you to really think about this, that if he transgresses you and he cheated, that it's not necessarily a reason to leave your husband. And I was very young. I think I was like, I don't know, I was just out of like nursing school at the time. And I was like, you know, so we're talking about, y'all, in terms of timeline, like this is a timeline just before like, this is just before, like, I'm trying to give you perspective on this, the culture at that time. The culture of that time was like, there were a lot of down low brothers at the time, okay? So I was operating a bit out of fear as well. And I was like, I told the lady at the time, I was like, hey, you know, that might have been true. Back in the 1950s and whatnot. But, you know, this is a different year. It's a different thing. There's a ton of diseases. You know, somebody cheats on you. They bring you, forget them bringing you a baby outside the marriage. They can bring you a disease. And so this woman was actually, and it's so funny how God will put people in your life to give you some hard truths that are so hard to receive. And then we can freely choose to receive or reject it. And so at the time, there's this woman, out of nowhere said, hey, if your husband transgresses you, meaning like if your husband cheats on you, she's like, I want you to consider that, not everything is worth leaving a whole marriage for. I want you to think about that. And at the time, I rejected it because I was young and I hadn't lived enough life, and I didn't have enough life to really fully get the whole picture. I saw the picture a bit from my current cultural standpoint and the current risks for me, which is not necessarily invalid, by the way. It's wisdom in its own way, but I saw it as, this is 1950s information. You guys probably just had like everything you had back then was probably like a total of one disease, and it was probably like syphilis and herpes, one or two diseases, and then you guys would carry on. I was like, we have diseases that'll kill people now. Yeah, people stepping out on marriages is problematic and scary, and I'm not about that life. So if he cheats, he's got to get out of here. So I rejected the information. And then there was another woman. I wouldn't say this was a woman of God, but this was another woman. And God will sometimes use ungodly people to still give you a word. Sometimes he will use the mouth of someone who's not specifically godly, but will speak a word that is for you, and it is from him. Because he uses the people that are in our lives sometimes. I mean, I would caution you with that. But another woman, my first year on my job as a nurse, gave me not the same wisdom, but like she weighed in on my life, and unsolicited advice, by the way. I wasn't like going around asking about my marriage and all. And people were just like, "Oh, aren't you a newlywed?" Yeah, and then they give me some unsolicited advice. And this woman was like, at the time I was like working in ICU and I was working night shift. And this woman said, "You're working night shift and you're newlywed?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "You're gonna leave your husband at home at night?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Well, he can cheat at night the same way he can cheat during the day. I mean, what's the difference?" And she just left it at that. She was like, really, really and truly, that is not wise. That is not wise. But you couldn't tell me anything at that age. You really couldn't tell me anything. I knew everything, and I really wasn't listening. These were women who were old enough to be my mother, if that makes any sense. Both of these women were old enough to be my mother. And they both, in wisdom, shared details that were bigger and broader than my mind. And I could tell you, nevertheless, things happened and my marriage ended. We'll just leave it at that. I won't like berate my ex-husband because I've forgiven him. It's fine. But what I'm saying is, and he's not all at fault. I did enough to like make him stumble too. So let me put the weight on myself as well. But I'll say this, looking back, and I will say, when I got divorced, I absolutely knew I would get remarried. It was like not even a question in my mind. I absolutely was certain that, oh, I'm cute and pretty and smart, I'll be married again. And guys, we're talking like 15 years later. Did that happen? It didn't happen. Like, it didn't happen. So I want to introduce you guys to the way the devil will lie to a person when you're married. That's number one. The devil will start their lies with saying like, you can replace them or you can do better and all these weird things. And the reality is when we enter marriage, it's not intended to be temporary. And I know that is like I know I'm hitting everybody's hot button with their bad behaving partners. And I'm not saying that bad behavior doesn't need repentance. Let's clarify that. Bad behavior needs to have a heart of repentance, meaning, let's qualify what a heart of repentance actually means. A cheating partner, if you're going to stay in a marriage with a partner who transgressed you, what it means is they should have a repentant heart. And a repentant heart looks and acts a certain kind of way. It means that they have submitted themselves to God on the matter because they know that transgression is bigger than them and it's spiritual. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying also, in addition, repentance means they've changed their mind about the behavior. Meaning, if they thought that this was okay or that they were warranted to do the behavior, they know that no matter what the wife has done or not done, that they have to honor God in that marriage too, that they have to honor God. So there's that part, that they've changed their mind, that like whatever thoughts that they had that got them there, it could have been, I think it's okay to be on one-on-ones with my coworkers. It could have been that I think that it's okay to have female friends call the home and check in on me because they're just friends. Like they need to begin to change their mind and at the same time put up barriers around the marriage. I think the other part of repentance is literally just heart. And their heart has to actually be a heart that literally it feels conviction. Like it feels a sense of wrongness about what they did, not like a sense of entitlement that you did this to me and so I can do this back. That's a vengeful heart. It has to be a heart of, I hurt my wife or husband, either way, and not only did I hurt them, but God is in my marriage. And so this hurts everyone. It hurt my husband or wife, and it hurt God. More important than anything, this is coming against God. What I did came against God. More importantly than coming against my husband or wife, I came against God. I'm in a covenant with my husband or wife and God. And me transgressing my partner, I also transgress God. That's actually more important. If they can get in their head the wrongness on the level of I transgress God versus imperfect man or woman, because on a bad day, you're willing to, somebody's gonna mess with your head on a bad day and you're gonna walk out the door and want to cheat anyhow because people are people and they mess up and they fail and they're not perfect. So I would say in my younger day, I would have said, somebody cheat on me, I'll leave you in a hot second. And I probably would have even said that a few years ago, to be quite honest. It's taken me both time, life, maturity, and reflecting on the things that the elders that spoke to me in my younger days fed me. And now I actually understand what they said. So let me bring it back to what they said. I had two different women in my life when I was very young say something like, if your husband cheats, you basically don't need to leave. And then the other one said, hey, consider what type of barriers you put up on your home. If you're working at night, like, is that really wise? Like, use wisdom in how you have a door just open for people to walk right into your home and take your man away. So I think both are important. I think it's important to use wisdom. For a woman, this is what wisdom looks like. You guys are not going to like me when I say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. For a woman, what wisdom looks like when you're married is you don't open the door to the devil in your marriage and allow and cause a reason for your husband to stumble. That's what it means for a woman. What does that look like? Not having physical relations regularly. It looks like that. Oh yeah, they hate me now. Les, ask if they hate me now. They hate me now. It means it means if your husband's not satisfied, it's likely that he will stumble. And that's in the Bible, actually. So don't hate me for it. It's in the Bible. So I'm just giving you Bible. This is why it says you need to find a certain kind of husband and a husband should have to find a certain kind of wife, because you're going to have to submit to one another in some way. And the wives are going to submit to their husband in many different kinds of ways. So do you want to submit under his headship? Are you going to make sure that his needs are reasonably met? And if his needs are 6 times a week and your needs are once, you're going to have to figure out as a couple what that looks like. It may not be 6 and it may not be 1, but it's got to be somewhere in the middle, but it can't be 1 or 0. It is what it is. You guys do with it what you like. That is prevention. An ounce of prevention is prevention. Don't expect a husband or wife to remain in a place where they don't stumble and transgress if they're going out hungry every day. And that goes back and forth to women, men to women. If the woman is the one who's a 5 times or 6 times a week and you're the 1 or 2 person times a week because of whatever, figure out your middle ground, figure it out, because otherwise the devil will position men in her pathway to help her to cross the barrier into stumbling. That's what the devil's going to do immediately, almost immediately. So I would say, don't position your partner to stumble. And that's on both sides. Not positioning your partner to stumble also means you have to hedge up your household from outside interference. Here's a perfect example. Like, I'm one of the only single girls in this neighborhood. I've observed that already. And I'm not going to say like I don't get invited to like parties of my neighbors. I do. I actually get invited to parties of my neighbors. My neighbors are actually pretty cool, y'all. But all my neighbors are married. And I'm aware that I'm a reasonably attractive looking girl. If I look at them and me, there's risk there. So the question becomes like, do I need to be prancing around at their house party, this single girl who lives right across the street? Like, I just look at that and I'm like, I don't need to be prancing around single in their house at their party. So I just kind of like, thank you and don't go. But like, they throw little parties. I try not to. That's not like, I'm not going to actually do anything. I'm not going to do anything. I know me. But at the end of the day, it leaves little room for error. It leaves little bitty room. Leaving little room for error looks also like this. One thing that I was raised, and I don't think younger women are raised this way nowadays. There's way too many blurred lines now. But younger days, I was raised to say, hey, if your husband's not home and one of his friends tries to knock on the door and come over, if the friend comes over for him, you can, answer the door politely or talk through nowadays you can talk through the ring bell thing, but don't open the door and let him in the foyer. Don't let him even in the house. Don't let him put one foot in the house. You take your message for your husband and then you send him on his way. And believe it or not, and here's a perfect example. When I was married in my early, this literally destroyed my marriage. I'll give you this one. I will give you because it has nothing to do with my ex-husband. It's like you can see his innocence in it, and I don't want to paint him in a bad light. That's not cool. So I was married. One of his friends, who he also worked with, came knocking on the door, and they both worked at the same job. The friend comes knocking on the door, and I suppose one of them was off one day because my husband was at work. This guy, his best friend, comes knocking on the door. So he comes knocking on the door. I answer the door and I'm like, and there's like little windows at the door, like these little windows. There's like windows at the door I could see through and whatnot. And I was like, oh, hey, so-and-so. I was like, my husband's not here. So I'll be sure to take a message and let him know you came by. I did not let him even in the foyer. I didn't let him walk in my house. I'm not even sure and now it's so long ago, I don't know if I opened the door or not, but I never even let him take 1 foot in my house. I didn't even let him do it. I was raised like that. Not because I'm going to do something wrong, but A, you don't want to be overtaken. B, you don't want something to go wrong. C, you don't want to give the appearance of something that would cause everything to go sour. Do you guys know this guy went back to the job? Mind you, I was a goody-goody before I got married. I was a goody-goody. This guy goes back to the job and tells all of the coworkers, yeah, and he uses, and this is language that I didn't even know what it meant because I'm so green. Maybe I need to put it in Urban Dictionary or something and see if it's still really legit a thing. He goes back to the job and says, oh yeah, I changed his wife's oil. That's the words he chose to use. He's like, yeah, I did that. And you guys that are old enough will probably already know what that means. It means he did something physically that he shouldn't have had any access to, but it was all a lie. He lied. So that man lied. He never even stepped foot in the house. My husband believed the lie. These were some of the beginning ways of the marriage even unraveling right there. If you look at it, that's an innocent thing. I didn't do anything wrong. And somebody that my husband trusted is lying and telling all these people at work. And this is like bringing shame to me, shame to his name. And that's causing, if you have a heart that's unforgiving, it will plant seed. If you've got an unforgiving heart, you'll start getting unforgiveness. And then that can turn into revenge. And then what is a guy gonna do if he goes into revenge mode? So all I say is, in general, I think kids are not trained like that nowadays. I see a whole lot of like, people who have a girlfriend out with a just female friend and all kind of weird stuff. Like today's culture, it's all messy, but it opens the door for all of these tales to be told and you to get lied on, even if it didn't happen. And it also opens the door for those things to actually happen. Let's be honest. So, so yeah, I would say back in the day, I was hard. Like if someone cheated, I didn't walk, just walked. Like no second chances. But what life has showed over time is that cheating is usually a symptom of something else. And this is the part that nobody talks about, and it's super unpopular, but I'm gonna say it. The cheating is usually a symptom of something else. Like, no, a lot of men will not go back and publicly say that their wife was not handling their marital responsibility. We'll leave it at that. A lot of men aren't going to say that publicly, but then the word becomes that they are the cheater, and that cheater thing goes public. But the quiet sin is that first, before he cheated, someone was not handling marital responsibilities, or she. Either way, that happens literally all the time, and it never gets talked about. And then one person gets branded the cheater when actually, yes, they did cheat, but they were neglected first. The other person gets blamed, gets pinned the victim, when actually they are a victim of someone who cheated, but before that person cheated, they didn't handle marital responsibilities. So they actually both sinned. They actually both sinned against God, because they're both biblically things that should never happen. The one person should not withhold from the partner, because the Bible actually says you shouldn't withhold from your partner unless you are, for a short period of time, both in agreement, pretty much for the purpose of prayer or something. That's the only time you should really withhold from your partner. So biblically, go get yourself a Christian woman. That's number one. Because a proper Christian woman knows that. That's why we have so many kids. Proper Christian women know that. So that's number one. And on the other, and that's legit. A worldly woman's gonna be like, you were mean to me, and no, I don't have to do that, and I'm gonna withhold this because you didn't do that. Back to performance again. And that's not how God wants us to treat our husbands and wives. He wants us to be in long-suffering mode, self-sacrificial, forgiving. That's what marriage is. It will grow you in the faith because of that. So I would say when I was younger, I would have been like, cheat on me, bye. But I think the reality is, here's what the devil's not going to tell you. You're young, you get cheated on, you say bye. Let's say you say bye and you're 33. You think, oh, I'm young enough, I'm fit, I'm this, I'm that. You get back on the market again. The world's not going to tell you you're 33. You think you're cute, but you're in competition with people that are 23. So you're 10 years older, and the guys are looking at the 23-year-old girl, but you're 33. That's a real thing that the devil's not going to tell you that. I'm going to tell you, devil's not going to tell you that. That's a whole thing to manage right there. You're in competition with these younger girls. The guys are looking for someone who's young enough and fertile enough so that they can date, take their time, and marry, and still reproduce. And if they date, take their time, and try to marry and reproduce, and they're looking at somebody who's 33, they're like, oh, I'm going to have to hurry it up. I'm going to have to make quick decisions. And if they're not of the marriage mindset, they're thinking this is going to be too rushed. I'm going to go with someone younger so I can take my time and make a decision. So the devil's not going to tell you that you're going to be fighting all of that as well. You're going to be fighting your common pop culture that says you basically, the devil's not going to tell you guys that. He's just going to say oh, get a divorce, you can do better. Do better means what? Start over. Start over means what? You have another person who is yet still a man. They are not God. They also will do something that will make you unhappy. And you will have to go through a place of, do I forgive them or do I not? You will have to face that again. That is the reality. The reality is, in marriages, we are married to people. People make mistakes, and people sometimes intentionally do stupid stuff. But you will have to go through a process of forgiveness, reconciliation, repair, start again. And you'll have to do that over and over and over again, or decide to just walk away and then start over anew. The problem with starting over new is this: in today's culture, starting over new in today's culture, marriage is not on top of mind for most people. So when you start over single, and I really don't care what age you are, when you start over single, now you're dating and you got people who have the same issues, who have the same, likely the same behaviors. They don't have the mushy mushy thing because they've already been burned by the world. And the likelihood that they may do similar stuff is there. Your tolerance for being able to accept it is not going to be there. You don't have that heart thing because you're high school sweethearts. You don't have all of that. So your ability to like tolerate it a second time is just not there. And you're looking at it and you're like, wait, these people don't even want to be responsible for me. These people don't even want to marry. They don't even want to pay the bills. They don't want to this, they don't want to that. They don't want to keep a job. And they're cheating. So when you walk it all the way out, you end up worse off because when you were married, you had someone who was an actual official legitimate partner. They were in there, they were working, paying bills. They might have blown it. If you could have got somebody with a repentant heart, you could just start over with them versus quitting them, replacing them, and the issue from the culture is still there. Cheating is still an issue in the culture. Failure to forgive is still an issue in the culture. The idea of seeking revenge is still in the culture. Temptation is still in the culture. Godliness is often missing in the culture. So you're going to try to do it again in the culture, A, older, B, in a culture that's fallen like Sodom and Gomorrah. And if you don't get somebody to marry, then they're not really responsible for you. Legitimately, they're not. Legitimately, they're probably going to try to get in your pants and like there isn't any responsibility for you. So you're not actually better off. Your husband, I'm going to tell you the truth. Even if a husband transgresses you, they have a biological desire to keep you from getting killed. I can't describe it. Like in general, even if your husband makes a mistake, if your husband cheats on you yesterday and he's still in the house with you today, and then today someone starts pushing in the back door and trying to rob the house and unalive everyone, he, as a husband, no matter what he did yesterday, is going to hop in front of you, in between you and the criminal. It's as simple as that. That is a biological desire to protect the family. It will kick in. What you will observe when you go back to dating is you will find dudes who run from a cockroach. It's as simple as that. Make it make sense. And pop it in the chat if you feel me, because it is what it is. It is what it is. So here's what I would say. I would say in my younger days, we were talking about cheating. In my younger days, I would have said, throw them back in a second. I would have said that. As an adult woman who's lived and understands the nature of cheating, is that cheating is the symptom. It's not always the problem. I mean, if you've got somebody who's just literally can't get right, then you probably could have figured that out before you got married. They're gonna be in their flesh. That's how you're gonna know. A person who just isn't right and just cheated randomly and just out of their no self-control, they're gonna walk without self-control while you're dating. You're always gonna see a lack of self-control. So you go out to eat, you're gonna see them gluttonous. You get a little income tax check, they're gonna be the spender, spend it all. Well, I just spend it on that, spend it all, did something crazy. The person who cheats and you didn't prompt them and you didn't wound them before they cheated, that person often lack self-control in multiple areas of their life, or they can't keep a job, they can't save money, they can't da-da-da-da. That person in self-control is something you should be able to see while you're dating. It shouldn't be a surprise that you didn't prompt them to cheat and they just cheat and they just cheat again and they just cheat again. That is someone who doesn't have self-control. A person who doesn't have self-control, that means they don't wake up on time. They sleep all day. It means they don't go to bed on time. They don't have structure in their life. It means their house is disorganized. Like, you can assess that while dating. If they are like that, Throw them back right there. For my ladies, throw them back. Because you can't have no organization and no self-control and also be a man of the house that can head a house. It doesn't go together. It won't work. You will see it come out. It will bleed out. So the person who cheats unprompted, there will be signs, and you don't have to live with someone in order to figure that out. You don't have to sleep with someone in order to figure that out. A person who fully lacks self-control, you will see that they lack self-control in all aspects of their life. Go look in their car right now. There's stuff all over the car. There's like, you got to like move something to sit. That's someone who does not have self-control. They don't have organization. It's more likely than not, it'll bleed out in something else. That means that's the same person who can't find anything. They're late for work. They can't even find their keys. They can't find their stuff. They can't find their outfit. Then now they're late for work. They're late for work. They're late for work. They lose their job. They lose their job. Their money's backed up. Their money's backed up, their credit's bad. Their credit's bad, they can't buy anything for the home. This is the same person, actually. It's the same person. It's not a different person. That person, now when a hot girl comes after them, they fall. Why? Because they didn't have self-control anywhere and they never fought their flesh. It is us fighting our flesh that says, I need to fast. I'm struggling with food. It's us fighting our flesh that says, I need to get up and go for a walk earlier than my work time so that I can get exercise in. It's fighting our flesh that says, I'm going to put barriers up so that I don't end up in a one-on-one with a woman because I know these women are hot. You know, it's barriers, strategy, and self-control, all in one. That's what you look for when you're dating. On both sides. That's something. If a woman who doesn't have self-control, she's going to give signs too. She's going to show you. She's going to show you. She's going to show you. She's going to always take something way too far. Whatever the boundary is, she's going to cross the boundary every time. So if you say, hey, I want to be abstinent, she's going to wear a dress that has like super low cut. Boom. The whole J-Lo effect. She's going to pull one of those. She's going to hear you say, hey, I want to wait. And she's going to be like, okay, I'm going to wait with you. And then she's going to show up looking like J-Lo. And you know there's no reason to do it. We know what we're doing. Duh. We know what we're doing. So she'll do that. And then when she does that, she's not actually telling you she's enticing you to fall, but her goal is like, if I can get him to fall, I'm going to feel good in a way. You know, I'm going to feel like I got him, or like I had that control, or I still got it. But these are not like godly mindsets. So you can tell that she doesn't have self-control that way. When she's like, it's a similar thing for women. It's a similar thing. Men overlook all that when the girl is hot. It's as simple as that. When the girl is hot, they'll overlook temper tantrums. That's a girl who doesn't have self-control. It's the same thing. That's the womanly way of it manifesting. If she like doesn't process her communication and she rather yell or throw tantrums, like I was watching, who saw Tyrese had posted a video? I'm not gonna like, did you guys see Tyrese posted a video? Tyrese, the singer, posted a video about a beautiful girl who was just literally going mad all over the house. Like throwing stuff, tearing down the television, having like a little fit of rage. She was beautiful though. Do you see what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is, look at that. Look at the guy who's willing to like look past all that and play that game. I can guarantee you her tearing down the TV and having a fit, that wasn't the first time she had a fit of rage. She threw herself on the car. She tore down the TV. She pulled clothes all out of the closet, threw them all over the place. This is a person that's not the first time she did that. That somewhere down the line, she's done that a bunch of times. And because she's pretty, you let her yell and then you tolerated it. See, when you're dating, you assess that and you move on. That's what you do. You move on. You assess all those things. You don't marry them. You don't have sex with them either. You don't do that. People have spirits on them. You don't have sex with them. You move on. You lay down and have sex with them and wonder why you feel angry or depressed. The lady literally is throwing things all around the house, jumping on the car. Do you guys hear what I'm saying? That's spiritual. That's no longer just behavioral. That's a spiritual thing. So I definitely would not say to lay down with them. But then God tells us like what to do and what not to do. So God already told us what not to do. So I don't have to say that. Alrighty. So yeah, but my thought now is I think you need to look for someone who has a relationship with God. And I think for cheating. We're talking about cheating. Would I forgive and take back a cheater? I think you need to look for somebody who's got a relationship with God, because if they don't, when they do wrong, there's no conviction from anyone. So if they have God in their lives and they make a mistake, even if you don't catch them, the Holy Spirit was there, caught them, and convicted them. And it will send them back to God to repent and figure out how to reconcile things back with you. That's number one. So if they don't have a relationship with God, it's just going to be harder, because really all people, women and men, have the ability to cheat all day long. I know I did. All day long. And nowadays, internet, you can cheat all day long. So I think at the end of the day, if you don't have a relationship with God, who's going to convict you? Who's going to be in your heart telling you, oh, that's not right, or you should do that differently? No one. All you got is your flesh, which is like, do it again, do it again, do it again. Don't get caught. That's what your flesh is going to do. It's evil. So yeah, I would say now I would say find someone godly. Hi, my former dance partner in the chat. I would say find somebody godly. Somebody godly gets conviction, so that means you're not having to, like, point your finger all day. God will do it. I would say date well, meaning look for the things that are it's going to be a red flag. If you see all the red flags, just slow down, and sometimes detour, and sometimes run. Sometimes you just work through it. People have to grow with someone. So sometimes you work through it, and sometimes you're like, you know what, I don't have the capacity for doing this right now, and so you just don't do it. So that's what I think. I think if you opt to stay with somebody and you see all the red flags, then you have to be willing to be long suffering with them, because that's what covenant actually is. It's meant to grow you in godliness. So if you marry someone who's struggling in the faith and struggling in their behavior, it's meant to grow you in patience. It's meant to grow you in godliness. So then your goal is to stand by them and help them grow through that. Help them. God's got to do a lot of it, but you do have to sit there and help grow through it. Now, at the end of the day, you got somebody who doesn't have a repentant heart, they're acting a fool, and they don't have a repentant heart. Well, the Bible allows you to get divorced for like sexual immorality. So that's also like, it's justified. It's a justified divorce, biblically justified divorce. So you can, but that just because it's justified doesn't mean that that's what Jesus decided that we should be doing. He doesn't want us getting divorced. So I think you have to balance that idea that just because you can doesn't mean you should. And that's what the first woman of God was telling me. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Just because you can doesn't mean you're going to get a replacement either. So don't listen to the devil who lies. You could be cute, pretty, and smart and rich. It doesn't mean you're going to end up getting another one either. You might have thought, I'm getting rid of this guy, I'm going to upgrade. And then the upgrade never comes. You don't have control over that. You don't. So I would just say be careful with that. I think that's where the devil starts to lie. So yeah, I actually think if you find a godly person, you need to probably try to work through that. And then I think also you find a godly person, you should try to make sure that you don't cause them to stumble on both sides. I think when you find a godly person, if they have a relationship with God, it's more likely than not they're going to have a repentant heart. And a repentant heart is honestly far more important than anything, because they're going to probably transgress you 10 different ways in life. And if they have a repentant heart, then God is going to issue correction and then going to help them grow through that. And you're going to end up with a better situation. Versus if you leave them and you go back on the dating scene, guess what? Probably if you've been married for 5 years at least, right? Or maybe 10. Now you're older. You may get passed over. Somebody else might be getting picked before you. Like, all these things are realities. These are practical realities. Like, do you want to enter the dating field, 10 years later and being in competition with somebody who's 21? Because 50-year-olds are dating 21-year-olds. Make it make sense. I don't know what they see in them, but it happens. I don't know, but they do it. So, yeah. And it's legal. So, I mean, it's not like it's illegal or something. So I just think it's use wisdom. I think people should use wisdom. It's really hard to be 23, get married, or 25 and get married, and then actually try to do it again at 40, and then like, okay, I'm gonna suddenly get this better pick thing. Like, I think like there's probably 2 or 3 good partners for everybody in their lives, but I just think we have to be careful with that. I think we just have to be careful. Just in wisdom, you know, in wisdom. Think about if it was a car and not a person. You get a used car because we're all broken, right, at the beginning. And then you think, oh man, my car is broken. I could either fix it, work on fixing it, or I could trade it in. Everybody has faced that at some point. And then sometimes we try to keep the car. I did that with my Mercedes, y'all. Ugh. I tried to keep the car. I poured like 10 grand into the car in 6 months. And I was like, ugh, I should have let it go. Should have let it go. It was a bad investment. Folks from IG know about that. When I brought y'all to the dealership with me, I spent 10 grand in 6 months because I love the car. Number one, like, if that was a husband, I love that car, y'all. I was very, very like, that was my, like, I was attached to that car, right? So I poured 10 more thousand into a car that was paid for, that was old, but it looked amazing. And it was my fave. And I just thought, if I just pour it, and I didn't do it all at once. I did 25 grand, you know, another 25 grand. And then it hit me for a 5,000. Like, I was like, okay, enough. And then after the 5,000, when it happened again, I was like, we have to move on. We have to break up. Me and Mercedes, we broke up. We broke up. But, you know, so then at that point, I got a great deal for the car originally, and I kept it for a long time. But at some point, it was a bad investment. I think that's the prayerful part, y'all. That's when you need to pray. If you have some cheating spouse thing, you need to take it to the prayer closet, because God knows the hearts, and God knows who's got a repentant heart, and God knows a person's end from their beginning. They know how they're going to change over time. So if you missed it when you were dating, don't try to get divorced without prayer. Like, if you missed it, then go to God first, because I'm just gonna say, a lot of times, at least on the dude side, when dudes cheat, it's not always just like in their flesh stuff. A lot of times the woman has wounded the man first. And women can hate me for it, but it's still true. A lot of times the woman wounded the man and they don't know it, because men don't communicate the same way. So she may have offended the man, emasculated the man, not given the man relations timely. A lot of things may have happened. All of that may have happened. And the man feels rejected and wounded. And he's out in the world rejected and wounded and without intimacy for long periods of time. That is the reason why guys cheat more often than not. They're not all like running around acting a fool. They are not. They are wounded. Now, does that mean you should take them back? That's up to you. I would say, if you review, like, self-reflect, as like for women, self-reflect. And if you know you were not handling your biblical role as a woman, review the Bible for your biblical role as a wife, you know, making sure that certain things are happening on time, et cetera, et cetera. If you know you didn't handle your business, you should at least take them back and try to make it work and handle your business. At least do that and pray about it, you know. But if he has like no conviction, then I don't see how it's going to work, because that's the problem. If he doesn't have a heart for God and he's already out there doing it, you know, I don't know how it's going to work without God. IG is about to go down in 20 seconds. So if you guys were on IG, I encourage you to come on to YouTube, Victory Life Podcast 7603, and make sure you subscribe, because it's going to go off. Victory Life Podcast 7603 on YouTube. In 5 seconds, it's going to go off. So yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up, y'all. That's what's up. I know that's a whole lot right there. Yeah, you can love that or you can hate it. I mean, it's still true. It's still true. I know you can hate it, but the women aren't going to say this part. They're just going to say, oh, my husband cheated. They're not going to admit that they didn't handle their biblical role. They're not going to say that. They're going to skip that part and just say that my husband cheated. And men are often not going to tell that part of the truth. Like, oh, she was not handling her business. They just kind of keep quiet. They get branded cheater and then they move on. You know, people aren't going to talk about that part, but that's okay. It's still true. It's still true. And we think women are sensitive, but I think men are just as sensitive. They just communicate differently. When a man gets wounded, they withdraw emotionally. They shut down. They go quiet. And then your ability to like connect with them, it's messed up. And it's messed up a lot of times for years. So that's how the devil works against a marriage, is when the man is wounded and then the woman is not trying to like seal up that wound. So she hasn't repented. She's not changed her ways. She's still acting out. And the man is wounded. So he either got emasculated, he's being made fun of, he's getting rejected, all that stuff. The man is wounded. And then he's out every day among the world with like people literally walking around with sexual immorality, perfectly happy with messing up a marriage. They're fine with that. And then when he falls, then he gets the full blame, and that's it. He gets the full blame. And oftentimes he feels bad and wishes he didn't do it. You know? So should we get rid of that husband? I think no. I think absolutely not. I think we have to reassess, like, okay, what happened here? How did we get here? And if you know that there's some blame to go around, then you guys both need to get up in there at work, pray, repent. Both of y'all repent and get up in there and work on that marriage, because trying to start all over is a hot mess. Trying to start over if you got kids, honey, the last thing you really want is some other woman raising your kid, helping to raise your kid, at the ball games for your kid. No. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. You haven't thought that through. Don't be so angry so quick. You haven't thought that through. You really want to deal with somebody else at the ball game, and you just trying to go there in peace, watch your kid at a ball game? You got to sit there and watch someone else watch your kid at the ball game? You just thinking, what are you doing here? That's what you're really thinking, but you can't say that. It is what it is. It doesn't make it not true. Alrighty. Let's look at the questions on... You guys post your questions in the chat. You guys are quiet over here, little Mr. TikToks. You guys are enjoying it, though. All right, let's see what's going on. Just double check and make sure we don't have any questions in the chat here. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, thank you, Varsity. Appreciate the compliment. All right, I think I got the questions. Thank you for the gift badge, Janolan. Appreciate that. All right, I think I got those questions. Oops. Okay, I think I got those questions. All right, we're going back over here to our good old lovely YouTube. Do I have a husband? No. I do not. What's my favorite color? I have no clue. I look good in royal blue, pink, teal. Obviously, everybody looks good in black, but I'm trying to not do black all the time. Somebody has type 1 diabetes. I would say you can do a lot to work on that, like going for walks, counting your carbs. When I say go for walks, like get moving any kind of way that feels good for you. Like whatever feels good for you that's not too much. Get moving however you can. Start as small as you can and try to do it consistently. Just a little something. And you can even break it up. You can do like 5 or 10 minutes of just some kind of movement a day. And then do that, every few hours, 5 or 10 minutes. Just try to do something and get moving. Eventually, when you get enough endurance, you'll be able to do something that you enjoy more than what you started off doing. So yeah, I get up and I eat more protein because it'll help you feel full, protein and fiber, and watch the carbs. Not saying you can't have any, but like just watch your carbs. And check with your doctor and make sure that you've optimized your medications. If you have any, if you're supposed to be using them, make sure you've optimized them. All that's really good for diabetes. So just honestly, good old movement, diet control, carb counting, obviously, I used to teach dance, so I love teaching dance, and I think dancing is great because it doesn't feel like exercise. It's just fun. Um, I love how MW hopped in there and was like, letting MW know. Good evening to you. Someone asked if I have a GUN. Yes, I do. I'm a military kid. You know why I got guns. Duh. Not only am I a military chick, I'm a military chick and a Republican. So you know I got guns. Come on now. Come on now. My daddy showed me how to use guns and change tires. Let's go. All right. Ba-dum-bum-bum. Okay. What's the weirdest thing someone has said to you? That's a good question. I don't even know how to answer that. The weirdest thing. What's the weirdest thing someone said to me? I mean, I can't really think of the weirdest thing someone has said to me. I can just think of the weirdest thing someone's done on a date, which is curse 100, like 72 times, 72 or 73 times on a date. And I was like, wow, this is where online dating got me. We threw that back. I'm trying to think. I can't think of the weirdest thing someone has said to me. I'm trying to think who has been weird. All honesty, I don't interact with a lot of people unnecessarily nowadays. I like my peace and quiet. So I'm trying to like look back at um I think another weird thing that someone's done is like go on one date with me and then like invite me to their house for the second date. And I thought that was weird. I was like, I literally had to tell the guy, I was like, so first, what was weird about it is he was, I felt like there was like a robot. It was so weird. Okay, let me walk it all the way back. So I met this guy in my DMs a few years ago. And I remember him kind of like, I remember him from being on my online dating profile. That's what happened. I was on an online dating profile. We had linked, but then I never went out with him. But then he came back on my like regular DMs, and actually remembered him from my online dating profile, and I remembered that we linked. So I was like, oh, I've already linked with him before. I was like, yeah, I should go out with him. So I didn't give it too much thought because I had already, had linked with him before, and I don't know, it just fell off. You know how it is when you're online dating, people come, they go. Um, and literally I probably was the flaky one, by the way. So yeah, so then I went out with him on the date, which was so super weird. He went to the restroom, and this is weird thing number one. This was so weird. Y'all is so weird. He took his drink with him to the restroom. And at this point, like I worked in ministry, so I could understand if I'm like a worldly chick and you're taking your drink to the restroom, maybe you think I'm gonna poison you or something. But I'm like, you think a churchy girl's gonna poison you and try to take you home or take your money? Come on, man. Come on. So I just thought like discernment, even if that's something you normally do, I found that kind of like weird and offensive at the same time. It's like, why would he take his drink with him to the bathroom? I don't know. And then, but I'll circle back to that part in a minute. So then everything was fine. It was like a super casual date. Like we were basically sitting on the bar and eating like our little Mexican food. And then we left. We went for like a little bit of a walk outside, talked a little bit, and then I left and went home. It wasn't a big deal. It wasn't like an over the top exciting date. He was a nice person. I thought he was reasonable to go out with again. It was like, I wasn't attached. I wasn't anything. It was just like, okay, I'll go with him again. Right. So then we planned to go out again. And then he called again. And this time it was weird because he was texting. And I felt like it was a AI texting me, which is so weird because I've already been on a date with him. So I've already met him. I've already seen him in person. He looks like his picture, all that. It's nothing weird. It's just that now I feel like AI is texting me. I don't know if anybody's ever experienced this. It's the weirdest thing that's ever happened. So it didn't seem like a normal interaction. It seemed like an AI. I can't describe it any other way. It just seemed like a robotic thing. It's asking some, like, it seems like there's a robotic assistant that was set up, and he was a smart guy. Could have been. I don't know. This is long before, like, this is probably, I don't know. This is like when maybe when I first came back to Atlanta. I don't know. It was a long time ago now. I was still like long in school. So I was like, um, it was just weird. And so and then he asked me, he's like, oh, like, well, let's go out again. And I was like, okay. And he was like, well, why don't you plan on coming to my house? And then I was like, huh? And not only did it seem like AI, but it was just like, huh? So that was I was just like, what? And then I had, like, literally in my kindness, I was like, you know what? Let me explain something to him. Like, maybe he just missed the boat on it. I'm like, you do realize I'm like a loud, noisy Christian. I'm not like a regular Christian. I know there's probably a lot of them who do all the things. I'm like, I'm not like a regular Christian. I'm like a loud, noisy one. So yeah, like, that doesn't really work for me. And then we went on, something back and forth. It just looked robotic. Like, it didn't look like it was coming from a human. And then it was like, again, it went back to the, like, oh, are you going to come over on tomorrow or whatever? And then I was like, do you realize there are safety issues in that? Like, just literally, it's not safe to even do such a thing. Like, not even safe. So then and at some point there were some messages back and forth, and there was some message about like, he's like, oh, I need some help decorating for Halloween or something. And then I'm like, now hold on now. So I was like, you realize I'm a churchy girl and I do not celebrate Halloween. Like, so we're getting to new levels of you're making mistakes here. So then I just, like, replied back, look, hey, I don't celebrate Halloween. Like, I adamantly don't celebrate Halloween. In case you didn't know, which I've already adequately addressed on social media that I don't do such a thing. I was like, on that note, I'm gonna, like, and then he sent me a picture of his house. And so I called my best friend at the time, and I was like, hey, this dude is so weird, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, let's check him out. Let's do background checks on him. So me and my best friend at the time, we were like Inspector Gadget. We were going through trying to figure out, like, legitimately, is that his house? Is he just sending us pictures? Like what is this? So he does his little research, and like we come back and he's like, nope, that literally is a house. This house is in his name. This is his house. And I'm like, so weird. So weird. And so let's walk it all the way back to what I first said, and then we'll let this story go, because it's an interesting one. It's the weirdest thing I got. So then I walked it back, and I'm like, if I've told this guy, like, I'm uncomfortable with the idea of being in somebody's house, I literally told him on the text message, dude, I don't even know your last name. Like, do you even understand I would never go to your house? I don't even know your last name. Like, if I know your last name now, I still, like, literally don't even know you. Like, I'm not going to your house for anything. It's literally a safety issue. I'm not coming. And I was like, literally, that's it. So I walk it all the way back to, now I gotta walk it all the way back to that drink that he brought with him to the bathroom. I want you guys to pop in the chat. I need to know what you guys think. I want you guys to tell me whether you think, now, was he trying to put something in the drink while he was in the bathroom and then bring it out? And then, like, or I don't know. Was he trying to, like, dissolve something in his drink and then bring it out and then, like, pour it in my cup or something? Like, what would he have brought the drink to the bathroom for? Because now I'm thinking, given the whole invite to the house, was he gonna try to poison me and take advantage of me? Or was he so used to doing something like that to a female that he thought somebody would try to do that to him? Y'all, tell me what he did. I don't know, but tell me. That's the weirdest thing. That was like, I never have figured it out. But yeah, let me know. Oh, I don't know anything about the 9 types of loves. That's interesting. That's pretty cool. Hey, Shadow, welcome. I'm good. I'm doing good. Let's see. Sorry that happened to you. Oh, I think everything's funny. I move on. Do we need to get back to gallantry for real? I wonder if there is a way while dudes are still single that they can work out a battle plan against cheating so that they are so that if they are deprived at home, they don't go roaming elsewhere for sustenance. You know, I don't think that I think here's what I think. I think cheating is in the bucket of works of the flesh. I think it's simply works of the flesh. So if you have self-control in all aspects of your world while you're single, I think it'll roll over. I think it'll roll over in your marriage to where you will be able to sustain yourself during whatever short period of time that your marriage is under attack. Because I think if you're not being sustained while you're married, I think your marriage is actually under attack from the devil. Period. That's what I think. I think your marriage is under attack if your physical needs are not being met in a marriage. I believe your marriage is under attack. Full stop. That's what I think. I think that's when you get in your prayer closet, you talk to God, you talk to your husband or wife, whoever it is. I think you pray and you communicate to them like, hey, this is things that we need. This is what the Bible says, blah, blah, blah. You know, go to Christian marriage counseling if you need to, but take that to the prayer closet. That is an attack from the devil. The devil knows what he's doing. All right, I see another question in the chat. I see how do women communicate versus how men communicate, or at least the basic norms. How do women communicate? My opinion in general, and people can be different, but in general, I think women communicate in more details, and men communicate with fewer details. So men will give more of the high level picture, sometimes the vision, and then women will communicate like, oh, okay. When they see or hear that vision, their brain has all these little branches and they start to think 10 different things related to the vision. I think that's common, that women are into the details and that the men are into the big picture. Weirdly enough, I think I can be into details, but I actually function in the big picture a lot. I actually like to like reserve details for someone else if it's not something that I'm really into. So yeah, if it's not something that I'm super into, I like to hand over details to someone else, even if I have to pay them. But yeah, I think women communicate are typically more vulnerable, and I think men will communicate more with action. So, like, women will say, like, I love you, and they'll say, like, I feel this, or this hurts. And I think men will, when they're hurting, they withdraw, or they change the topic, or they look uncomfortable. Like, they communicate with their nonverbal cues. So I think women should look at the nonverbal cues of men, and I think men should look at actually listen to what the woman is saying, because women will come right out and say, this hurt me. Now, a less mature woman will communicate with anger and she'll communicate with behavior, but that's a less mature woman. A more mature woman will actually communicate how she feels about something without stepping into emotions as much. Even if she's emotional, she'll be able to like try to like process the emotions and also share. So women that have like really high emotional intelligence will communicate clear communication, even though inside things might be bubbling up differently. Maybe they may be stressing or fearful or angry, but they manage to speak out things in a way that's so nice. And you're like, how do you do that? What are you, little unicorn person? You know, but then there are women who like the emotions bubble up while they're talking. And so you get a little sassy, a little sass mouth sometimes. Yeah, it happens. But then, you know, there are the women that we saw, like Tyrese posted the video, and her communication about something feeling off, about something feeling bad, is her destroying there was a video where Tyrese posted where the woman literally destroyed the whole house. And she jumped on the car, she took down the TV, she was throwing clothes around, pulled clothes out of the closet. That was her way of communicating that she was not happy about something, or her needs were not met, or somebody failed her expectation, or someone hurt or transgressed her. Rather than saying that, she just destroyed the whole house. So that was her way of communicating that. And I'm pretty sure she didn't get what she wanted at the end because she was under videotape. So I'm pretty sure that means that's the end of her relationship. Because that got posted. Um, so let's see. So if a guy doesn't take his drink to the bathroom, that's a surefire way to say he trusts you. Just kidding. Yeah. So for instance, there's something that I've done in the past to communicate my that I don't have a lot. It's a subtle thing. I don't know if it's I don't know what you guys think, but in a subtle way, if I'm seeing someone and I don't have a whole lot of like people popping off on my phone, like cuz I'm not like trying to multitask and multi-date, then when I get up to go to the ladies' room on a date, a lot of times I'll just leave my phone there. And obviously I'm leaving my phone there because I know the person's not going to like break in my phone or steal anything. Like, I'm dating someone that I trust to some extent, but also I'm leaving my phone there because if a notification pops up, they're going to see it and they're going to basically see that, oh, she's not really seeing someone else. And I think there's something about that that communicates that I can be safe with this girl. Does that make sense? I think it's a like a subtle way of like you just leave your phone there, like, oh, she leaves her phone there, she's not attached to her phone. Like automatically you think A, she's not attached to her phone. B, she's not like texting someone else in the bathroom. C, if the phone does pop up with a notification, dude's gonna look at it and they're gonna see who it is. And it's probably like your mama or some girlfriend or something. You're not gonna see like a bunch of dudes popping up with notifications. So, I mean, of course you can always turn notifications off, but I think it does subtly communicate that the person that you're with is very important and that there's no one more important than that person in that moment. So I think that's kind of a nice thing to do. But I think if a guy doesn't take his drink to the bathroom, it doesn't communicate trust. But I've never in my life, other than that one time, ever saw a guy take his drink to the bathroom with him. I've never even seen it. So I didn't know what to make of it at all. I still don't know what to make of it. And I would love y'all's feedback if you know what happened there. Um, it says, I think he didn't trust you because he's an untrustworthy guy. Ooh, see, that's what I was wondering. He took his drink to the bathroom so you wouldn't poison him. The reality is nowadays women do stuff like that and then try to like take a guy's wallet or something like that. But this, like, I work in ministry, so like that, you're not dating a worldly girl. So that's so far fetched that it's just weird. Like, I never even had anybody do that when I was in the world. It's so weird. I don't get it. What are the basics for establishing structure in everyday life? I think the basics are having like your cleaning day, your workout times, your work times, your start and ending times to your day, times that you would carve out to catch up with people that you haven't spoken to in a long time. I think just planning out not so much a day, but planning out a week. Or even if you're really wise, I've not done planning out a month, but planning out a week is, I think, great because trash runs on Monday. So, Sunday, you got your trash out way, way early. When you're getting your trash out, that's a good day to do cleaning because you're cleaning and you're putting your trash out at the same time. So that's 2 in 1 right there. You don't forget the trash. You're also prompting yourself to like tidy up on the same day you're taking out trash. A clothes washing day, tidying up day. Even if you do like, I was reading about the power hour, which I think is kind of cool. And I did this recently and I didn't realize I was doing it. So I was getting ready to go out of town and I'm like, I don't have a lot of time. So I was trying to do all these major tasks in 1 hour. So I ended up going, and I normally spend like way too much time at the gym. I normally spend way too much time tidying up. And I'm doing it like, not because I'm doing it efficiently. It's just because I'm like doing it all slow and lazy. So this particular day, because I was like, literally, if I don't do this and I don't do that, I'm gonna miss my flight. So and I didn't want to skip my gym. I didn't want to skip tidying up. So, like, I just wanted to do what I wanted to do. So I forced myself, I looked at the time that day and it's like the first time I did it, but it's something that I think I want to incorporate now that I've done it once before. I looked at my time and I was like, if I want to catch this flight, I'm going to need to only have an hour for packing and getting ready, which is gonna be, but it wasn't gonna be a long trip, so it was fine. I'm only gonna have an hour for packing and just putting myself together and pack. I'm only gonna have like about 45 minutes at the gym, maybe 50 minutes at the gym. I was like, I'm only gonna have an hour to tidy up. So it basically was giving me this power hour for every major task for the day. And I was running that day. I want to give it to you. I was running. I worked and then I stayed a little longer than I wanted to at work, which threw me off. So I wasn't giving everything a power hour. I was ending up giving like 45 minutes here and 45 minutes there. But it was basically the power hour, if you round up all the time. And I ended up on a day that I barely had any minutes. I ended up being so efficient and getting so much done. I was so proud of myself. I was like, if I had more time, then I would have got less done. But I had less time, so I forced myself to push through, and I was just so proud. So by the time I was wiped out and on my plane, I was like, girl, you killed it today. And then it was only after that that I learned about the power hour. I will tell you this. Elon Musk talks about it. Elon Musk basically says, I don't know the exact wording now because I read this like a couple months ago and I thought it was interesting. Elon Musk basically said, if you give yourself, like to complete a task, it's better to give yourself like a little small amount of time to do the task and just go. He's like, because if you don't, you're just prolong tasks. And you'll end up taking, if you tell yourself, I'm going to clean this closet and I'm going to clean it in 3 months, you'll take 3 months to clean it. He basically said, and I was reading an article about him, and it basically said, if you tell yourself, I'm going to give you 3 hours to clean that closet, guess what? You're going to clean that closet in 3 hours. So I proved to myself that that actually was true the day I went out of town. Not because I was trying to, I just was like, I don't know. I have a routine when I go out of town that I do like to tidy up before I go out of town because I want to come home to everything tidy. So I just have that as a routine. And I have, like, lately, my gym became my routine as well. So, and then I couldn't get out of work that day. So that's just something that like slipped. So, I was like, but I don't want to miss my gym because I already knew I was going to miss my gym the whole weekend from being out of town. So I was like, nope, I don't want to miss my gym this day. And I was like, and I do want to still tidy up because that's my routine whenever I go out of town, is tidy up before I go out of town. So I ended up doing everything and I was running, but I really did well. And and it felt so good to be on the plane and know that I was more efficient than I've ever been, because I knew like I could run the risk of like missing a flight if I played around too much. But I didn't miss the flight. Everything was cool. It was such a good feeling. And then it was a good feeling to come home too. So I don't know. I mean, and that's the mindset of what some people call the power hour, but that's also the same mindset that I read that Elon Musk talked about in an article, and I just read it and I was like, oh, actually, I just did that. That's kind of cool. I just did that. What does work-life balance, truly exist? I say yes, and here's how it exists. Work-life balance exists if you have your priorities right, if you do everything first with God. Because if you do everything first with God, when you start to become like idolatrous about a certain aspect of your life, God's going to check you in your idolatry and going to pull you back, if that makes any sense. So if you start getting like idolatrous about like, making money and being in control at work kind of thing, then God's going to pull you back and he's going to be like, really? You're working so hard at that. You're not in my word like that. You know what I mean? So I think work-life balance does exist, but there's a trade-off there. If you don't have the capacity to make all the money in the world, then the trade-off is going to be, you're going to either have to have roommates so that you can make ends meet, or you're going to just live a simpler life and have like more basic things, basic car, basic small place to live, you know, maybe less spending, less discretionary spend, but then you still balance your life, you know? So I think it's a choice. I think you just manage your money based on the category of finances you bring in. You just manage that. You manage it, because I can remember when I was in college, I had less money, but I managed it pretty well. You know, when I had more money, I spent more money. And then spending, if you spend too much, then you end up chasing money so that you can continue to spend money. So, you know, that becomes a cycle of its own. What current modern health trends do I believe are fads, if any? Modern health trends that are fads? I gotta chew on that for a second. I'm thinking. I guess I want to qualify what fad means. Can you qualify what you mean by fad, just so we're talking the same language? Because one fad is BBL. If you're talking about what's gonna go, like, just qualify what you mean by fad, just so that we're on the same page. I think like these big, large, like BBL styles, I think that's a fad, and that's like pretty much going away. And you may even see certain kinds of like cosmetic surgery, like little nip tuck things being fads, and then going away. Like, you know, certain things where like filler, I don't know if filler is going to go out of style, but overfilled face was a fad, and now that's gone away, and now people are like, no, we're going to do filler less, or we're going to use filler like here, and, you know, and teardrop, and just like, you know, we're going to like fill out your chin differently. Like, those are fads, but they're trying to figure out how to make the face look more natural and less overfilled, less puffy, and less duck face looking. Fad, in your opinion, is something that's hot today and not hot tomorrow. Oh yeah. So all those cosmetic surgeries are fads. Like, they go from overfilled. Like, I can remember when being top heavy was completely in style. That was the look. And then that was a fad. Then, you know, looking natural became the thing. It became the look. And then I can remember when being overly big on the bottom became the look. You know, that has been a fad, and I feel so sorry for every celebrity who's still in that body. And I don't know if I haven't done the research on how easy it is to remove those bodies, but overfilled face was a fad. Now they're trying to figure out how to give you a more natural appearance on your face. Overfilled bottoms are a fad. Not only that, it's hard to carry all that, and it's the same thing I heard with women who were overfilled on the top parts. It was hard on their body. It was hard on their back to carry all that. So I know women who had reductions, just because it was hard on their back to carry all that weight on front. And now similarly, I don't know, like I'm waiting to see how these people are going to age, because if they're so heavy on the bottom, and it's not a natural heavy even, it's like a synthetic heavy, then I wonder does it affect their exercise? If they're not getting exercise, then they're probably not lifting any weights. If they're not lifting any weights and they're starting to get older, then what's their bone density gonna be like? Because that affects your bone density as you get older. Then if your bone density is off, then you're likely to have, as a woman, fractures. Once you have a fracture as a woman, your risk for death like quadruples. So this is serious stuff. And you take it all the way back to like a BBL. If you look at it, people that didn't have anything wrong, like maybe they didn't have anything wrong with their nose, they get a nose job, they've broken their nose now, literally broke their nose. So the fad is you think you need to have a long, skinny nose, when really, if you've got a nose that works, you're blessed. You can breathe out of your nose, you're blessed. So people go breaking their nose and they make it all slender. And now the passages don't work like they used to. Now they're not even getting enough air in and out. These things are all getting clogged up, and they're having to go in there and have things reopen, having to like redo surgeries. This is a mess. That's a medical problem that you created on your face, that you just leave your beautiful face alone. So that kind of thing, these cosmetic things, I think are totally a fad. I think what else do I think is a fad is I think AI being your best friend is a fad. I think like right now there was like a move toward like AI kind of becoming people's friends. And I think that's going to be a fad, because as much as AI is cool and useful for like workplace efficiency, at some point the tide is going to turn back and people are going to want human connection. So I think it's a fad from the best friend standpoint. I think people are going to want human connection. The same way we are over here talking, you don't want to be talking and I'm a robot here. You don't want that. You don't want that. Even if the robot is cool, like you don't want that. You actually like want to know that like goofy me is like, oh, I need to plug in my thing. Like, oh, I dropped my lipstick. Like you actually want those goofy, natural, legit moments that are real. And like nobody, when somebody's like, oh, what's on your blanket? You want me to pull up my blanket and show you, you know? People want reality, especially in a world where there's so few things that are real. But how's my ebook coming? It's not coming. Like it's fine. Like I've not done any additional work on it. Like I've um I've got I created a dating scorecard that is like 100% accurate. It's 10 questions. Whoever you're dating or whoever you previously dated is 100% accurate. It's always accurate. It basically lets you know whether you can marry them, whether you can date them, or whether you need to run. It literally tells you that if you answer the 10 questions honestly. So I'm gonna release that at some point, but I'm not rushing for some reason. I'm just not. I'm just not rushing. Like my men's book is done. My scorecard is done for my dating. It's a dating relationship scorecard. It's done. And I think it's super cool tools that can be used together, you know? So yeah, I think it's super cool. I mean, I'm not in a rush to release them, but it doesn't mean they're not done. The thing with my book is that, you know what's got me messed up is trying to figure out my cover. The cover for the book has got me messed up. And that's one of those creative things that like, I gotta be in my creative frame of mind to just doodle daddle with covers and stuff, and I don't know, I haven't been able to figure out the cover. And like if I get irritated enough, I'll just go with like no picture of myself at all and just throw some words on the front of a book and be done with it. If you see just a book with words, then you know I got tired of trying to figure out my cover. But yeah, but the book is good and I love the scorecard. I think they're both awesome. I think people are going to love this scorecard and they'll find it useful. And you can use it on someone you used to date. So like if you used to date somebody and then like put it this way, the scorecard works like this. If you date someone and you're in good shape with them right now and you score them, it's going to be accurate in the moment in time. And then if you used to date them, but then they misrepresented themselves and then you rescore them based on new information, it's going to be accurate in the moment in time. So if you score them based on their old habits, maybe they lied and misrepresented, you know, themselves. You're going to be like, oh, maybe it says I should date them or I should marry them. But then if you rescore them later on and you like rescore them based on realities and not based on the lies, it's going to be like run. So it's useful. It's useful. Very useful. But Oh, my lovely TikTok. But yeah, any other questions? I'm about to start wrapping it up, buddies. Do I believe Christians will ever totally ditch dating as a means to find a spouse? I mean, I could live without dating. I actually could live without it. I think what I actually think is because dating is such a rotten process. It's so tainted by worldly mindsets that I think we could do away with it altogether. I think it's that useless because it's for Christians, it positions us to sin. That's what I think. I hate to say it like that because I mean we should be able to date and it's not a problem, but it just doesn't. The world is so tainted that I think dating positions us to sin. And I'm not saying that we can't date or shouldn't date. I'm just saying it's still the truth, you know? People have warped minds and they have warped versions of worldly versions of love. And they're kind of walking around expecting to like receive something that's a worldly gift. So they're like, oh, if the person doesn't do this physical act, then they don't love me. Well, this is all like worldly mindset stuff. So it's just, I don't have anything else to say except for like, if we were able to date as Christians, when I say date, like get to know other Christians as friends, I think that's where you're going to find out if you're really compatible with someone. You're going to find out if they're consistent. You're going to find out if they're in their flesh. I actually think that's probably the best way, is just to be friends. And, you know, you can be close friends, but at the end of the day, it's the mindset thing. I just think the world has warped it so badly. Um, I think if you're friends for a long time, you probably could just make a decision about somebody and move forward. That's what I think. If you're friends with someone for a long time and you're attracted, I think you probably can move forward. At the end of the day, that's what I think. I think dating has become so toxic. It's become so toxic. So that being said, we can't get out of it. You know, at the moment we can't get out of it. It's still the process that people use for deciding on whether they should marry. It's still the process that people use. So there's no way around it. You have to do it in order to get to the finish line. But I have my concerns around dating. I definitely do. I think I have my concerns. It's hard. It's so hard to put into words, but it comes down to people not being wired with the right mindset. It just kind of comes down to that. And I can't really describe it any other way. So many times I've gone out with Christians on dates and realized that their mind is wired for the world. Even if they go to church, this and that, read the word. So many times I've noticed that. So many times I've noticed it. I've noticed it so much among Christians that I actually for a while stopped dating Christians. I actually stopped dating because I realized they were just like the world. They were exactly like the world. Their expectations for dating, you know, physical stuff, this and that, like their expectations I've found to be exactly the same. I found in dating Christians that there was a lot of greasy grace and a license to sin. That's what I found. And for that reason, this is my personal journey, so I'm not suggesting you do this. Because of that, and I found it so repetitively, I felt like I ran into personally too many wolves in sheep's clothing in the Christian faith, that I actually stopped dating Christians. And I was like, I'm just gonna date worldly guys. Because one thing about worldly guys I observed is they didn't have the same faith, but I found that they really respected my faith. And that meant something to me. Like, they were like, I don't have the faith that you have, but when you say that these are your boundaries, they were like, they respected it, and they weren't trying to bend and break my things. It's like they understood, don't mess with that. Although they didn't partake in it and buy in it themselves. And that, honestly, till this day, that's something that I really appreciate and loved about them, is like, they weren't trying to break me. Like, if they wanted to go sleep with a girl, they knew, just go down, like, they could just go on their phone and hit up the girl that's gonna be easy and just do it. Like, they knew that, and I knew that, and they stuck to that, and they didn't come at me from that perspective. So I just felt, at the time, I felt more respected by them, and I felt like they didn't put me in position to fall. And then when I dated Christian guys, they did. They didn't respect boundaries, and they didn't respect grace, and therefore they twisted the word of God. This was my experience with dating Christian guys. And at the end of the day, I was like, oh, well, if that's the case, I shouldn't even be dating them, because how is this a different experience? They're not set apart. They don't respect my boundaries. Like, how is this any different? And I stopped dating them. So, I mean, to be honest now, it's so my sister in Christ, she's my, I only have 2 people in my inner circle. And this is my sister in Christ. I talked to her about it one day, and she's married. I talked to her about it one day, and she was like not on board with it, and I do really respect her. She's like, she was not on board. She's like, not dating non-Christians. She was not on board with that. And I was like, sis, but you don't understand. Like, the Christians have been wolves. I don't know. I keep getting the wolves. And I was like, at least the non-Christians have respected me, and they've left me to my Bible stuff. Like, they understand that they aren't there, but they don't try to like get between God. They don't know, they don't understand God, they don't get it, but they're not trying to make me stumble, and they're like leaving me to do my God things. And at least I could still have God in peace with them, you know what I mean? But to have a Christian and then they're coming against the word of God is honestly, I don't have words for it. Like, I don't have words for it. So I would say now, I think the difference is now, so just recently a video on blocking people if you want to get married. And that is because I think it was like about Friday a week ago. So probably like 10 days ago, Friday, 10 days ago, Friday. God told me to block some people. And these are people that I used to go out with, but I'm not actively texting them. Like, we're not actually in communication back and forth. Like, there's nothing going on. Like, I've already had my final talks with them. Like, oh, like, I don't feel like it worked out because I've already had those talks. So I don't expect a whole lot of interaction. Like, they may hit me back up. People always do, but like, I didn't expect a whole lot of interaction. So I wasn't trying to ask God why, but in the messaging, I was like, but it's mean to block people, God. It's kind of mean. Like, I don't normally block people. Like, if I'm blocking someone, they've basically harassed me, or they got way out of pocket, like way out of line. Like, they've either harassed me, or they deserved it. People that have been blocked really just deserved it, because I have people that I haven't blocked who I don't even really like, or people that I haven't blocked that I don't even really deal with, and they're still not blocked. So if I've blocked them, they're actively in my phone doing crazy stuff, and I'm like, I gotta block you. So God had told me 10 days ago to go down my list and block certain people. And it's not that I was saying, why, God? It was more like, God, that's mean. And they're not bothering me, and I'm not bothering them. Just leave them there. And God was like, block, block, block. And I just blocked them. And we have to begin to try not to understand God and just obey. That's what I will say. If we want to get married, we have to stop trying to do it all by ourselves. Whatever that was, God knows something, and I'm not seeing all of it. I don't have every detail, but God knows something, and He doesn't need my suggestions. Does that make sense? He doesn't need my suggestions. God said block them. And I just did. And maybe in blocking them, the blessing is on their side. Maybe they're attached to me and they need to move on so they can find their person, Maybe my person is waiting for me, and that's the reason. I don't know why, but it wasn't a hard ask for me to just go ahead and hit the button. I just thought it was like, I thought it was mean. And I was like, that seems mean. They're not even bothering me. I'm not bothering them. Let them live. God was like, block. And I was like, okay, God, block, block, block. So I can't make it make sense, but I know God. That's what I know God. And so that wasn't my thought. And I didn't have peace until I did it. Like, I was in the middle of a work day, wasn't even thinking about these people at all. I was like literally typing on my computer, and God's like, block them. And I was like, that's mean. And then God's like, block them. And I'm like, okay, God. And I was like, I'll do it in a little while. And I tried to go back to work, and it came back to me like, I'm not going to give you peace till you do it. And I'm like, okay. So that's what's up. Yeah, I think we need to stop asking God too many questions about the why. Sometimes He just tells us do something. Our brain is too finite. We're not going to understand Him a lot of times. We need to just listen. That's the best thing. That's the best course of action. Just listen. Don't think too much. Listen, and that's it. That's it. Yeah, that's profound. To respect is sad in terms of men wearing Christian as just a badge. I'm sorry for that. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. The reality is we're at the end of time, and so there is, if you look at book of Revelation, it talks about there being an apostasy, a falling away from the church, meaning people were with God and they fell away. That is supposed to happen. People have fallen away. Some people have fallen away because their parents didn't train them. Others are fallen away if they're in a state of rebellion, unrepentant sin, and no conviction. Kind of, they're moving away from God, beginning to reject God. All of those things are actually happening. So we can't be surprised, y'all. People are in the church and they're not of God. We can't be surprised. So, yeah, I mean, so back to what I was saying. My sister in Christ, I told her about the situation that that I was at the time. This is probably a year ago. I don't know. I was a year and a half ago. It was a while ago now. I was telling my sister at the time that, oh yeah, I'm going on with this guy. He's not a Christian, but yeah, at least he respects me. At least he's not trying to like break all my rules with God and stuff. He doesn't get it, but he won't go to church with me. But he doesn't get it. But at least I have God to myself. And she was like, not on board. And I get why, because we're not supposed to be unequally yoked. I get why. The Bible actually tells us why. But I was like, sis, you're married, and like the rest of us are trying to get there, And who was in the dating pool? A bunch of fake Christians. I was like, so what do you expect? Who are we supposed to get married to? The Christians in the pool are fake Christians. They are actually wolves. So who are we supposed? You tell me, who are we supposed to marry? Who are we supposed to date? You know? I mean, to me, like, that's tough. And she was like, you can't go out with unbeliever, girl. You can't do it. And so it's not like I received the word at the time. I chewed on it. I just chewed on it. And I'm still not in the position to be like, here's what I'll say. What I realized on Friday 10 days ago, when God had me block, here's what I will say. When I look back at the attributes of the people that God had me block, when I look back at it, it turns out that those people are either in the list of people who are unbelievers, or they're on the list of people who are unsurrendered Christians. That's what's on that list. So I'm not going to try to understand all of what God did, but I did sit back days later and say, well, what do these people have in common? Why is God maybe blocking them? Blah, 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 what? But that's the situation. So with that, I mean, King Solomon, God told King Solomon, don't go after the foreign women who didn't have the same God. So, I mean, and he didn't want them pulling their hearts away from him. So, what I would say is people just need to be prayerful. I can't tell you exactly what to do, because for men, there are a bunch of Christian women who live a surrendered life. Period. I don't think there is a man who should be dating, who's a Christian, who's dating a non-Christian. No. I have a hard no on it, because there are too many surrendered life Christians who are women. There's so many. There's a plethora of them. You can go to every church and find 90% of the church is women. And of that, at least half of them live a surrendered life. At least half. Like, you can find surrendered life women. So I don't think it's a bad idea. I don't think it's a good idea for a man of faith to go outside of the Christian faith. There's no reason to do it. There's risk outside that's not inside. Just leave that alone. The problem for the women is the volume of men who are actually who behave the way they speak is, yeah, it's not a high volume of most of them. It's just not a high volume that their behavior matches their words. And even once you get closer to them, they twist scripture and stuff like that, because they're twisting it to try to make it to where, oh, I'm still a faithful, I'm still a believer guy, but this is what we do with it. It's like, no, I know the Bible. You got the wrong one. Get behind me, Satan. That's what I would say to that. So, yeah, I think it's just a test. And when I think about it, I think it's a test from, a test to make sure that I will choose God over idolatry towards marriage or something. Like, well, God's more like, will you still choose me even if you don't know you'll have anyone? Like, yeah, God, I'll choose you. We'll push him away. So, at the moment, like, it's hard for me to explain, but I'm starting to think what my sissy said is still correct. What does that mean? I think it honestly means a lot of women are not getting married. That's what I think it means. Not trying to be the bearer of bad news. I think that's what it means. I think a lot of women are probably not going to get married if that's the case. Because if she's saying don't date an unbeliever, and I know the risk, where I think I took mine is like I never stopped going to church. I never stopped praying. I never stopped this. And I didn't interrupt my God time for anybody. So if I went out with someone, if like they're like trying to invite me to something like 10:30 on a Sunday morning, I'd be like, I got church. So, oh, you're not coming to church? It's okay. Me and God going to church. So do you see what I'm saying? Like, okay, you just get carved out of that. You get whatever time is left. So at the end of the day, like I ended up having to keep carving out time because I never like wanted to carve out time and like, no, God, he comes before you. I didn't want to do that. Eventually I explained it to him. I explained to him that I was nice about it, but I did explain to him before I let him go. I said, actually, the reality is like you're a nice person, and so am I. But here's the issue. At some point, we haven't gotten there with where our values are crossing. I was like, but at some point, you're not going to understand my values, and I don't want to drag you. Like, like a dog on a leash, dragging someone. I was like, I don't want to do that. I have values around how I need to live, and I'm not changing those values, even if it means I lose at the end. If I lose and don't have a man, I accept that. And I've had to get to a place where I had to accept that. I was like, and I realized that people don't really live a surrendered life. I realized that. And I realized that it's so hard to find that I don't think about it. I just focus on the things that God has for me, and that's it. And God's got plenty of stuff for me, and I just don't focus on that. So I explained to him. I literally just went down and I was like, look, I live a surrendered life, and it's not just like I'm a Christian. And it confuses the unbelievers because they go out with Christian this and Christian that, and they act like the world. So they think everything is cool when they meet you. So they literally don't understand that a Christian who lives a surrendered life, it's not going to look the same as them other Christians that they went out with and fornicated with all the time. It's not going to look the same. So I just sat down and explained to him. And I was like, look, I live a surrendered life to Christ. It's not probably the same as other Christians you've gone out with. And he explained that he'd been out with other Christians, and they asked him to go to church, and he just said, I'm not going to go. And I said, that's fine. I was like, I live such a surrendered life to Christ that at some point you're going to feel frustrated with me. Or you're going to feel like, oh, she's making me and she's pulling me along. I'm not up for pulling anyone along. I'm not up for that. That's not something I'm going to do. So, and I'm not saying that you need to have the same level of faith or same level of knowledge or any of it. I'm just saying that I'm not going to be tugging some guy along on the faith train. I'm not going to do that. It's not going to work out. If I have all these values, I said, here's what's going to happen. Like, you don't see it today because we can go to a dinner and we can have a nice chit chat, and that's great. Because when you're on the surface level, there really isn't an issue. You can just talk about nothing, eat food, talk some more about nothing, and go home. There's never going to be an issue on the surface level of dating. It's after enough time has passed and the man that you're with starts to feel like, well, when am I going to get some? Let's be honest. That eventually is going to get into his head. And even if I'm, dressed proper on a date, even if I'm not being super flirtatious, even if I'm not doing anything to entice him, eventually this is still a worldly guy. His head will eventually go there. He's eventually waiting for that. And if they don't have the same values as me, then eventually there's going to be a rub, because their first thought's not going to be, oh, I need to marry her because this is all part of the rules and regulations for her faith. That's not going to come to mind. What's going to come to mind is, I'm uncertain about her because of all the other wounds from my other relationships. I've got to make sure she's right. I got to check and make sure she's right, because I don't go to God and make sure anybody's right. Versus me, I don't need a test drive and all that. I need to go to God and make sure he's right. So that value right there, it creates a rub. So I explained, I was like, there's going to be a day that comes along. And just because a day hasn't come yet doesn't mean that day is not coming. I know that day is coming, that you're going to finally wake up and be like, okay, she won't let me in her house. She won't come over. She's not sleeping over. She's not this and that. She's not blah, blah, blah. There's a day that's going to come that your patience is going to wear thin. And you're going to be like, it's time. It happens. I was like, and how are you going to feel when I say, remember that conversation we had in the beginning? Like, these are my values. And this is not a boundary I can cross. I'm not like those other girls who said they were Christian. I will not compromise. I will not compromise this. This is the life that I've given. I've given my life to Christ, and my body is no longer my own. You missed that boat. My body is not my own. So one day you're going to wake up and you're going to be like, are you ready to get married? And you're not going to think, are you ready to get married? You're going to think, are you ready to sleep together? And I'm going to be like, no. I'm going to be thinking like, are we ready to get married? Are we working on that part versus the sleep together part? I'm going to be thinking something different from you. And it's either going to be a tug of war. He's trying to get me to sleep, and I'm over here thinking God stuff. He's thinking sleep stuff. Or he's going to be literally pulling me to sleep stuff, and I'm going to be trying to pull him to church stuff. Either way, it just doesn't work. So what my sis said, honestly, it's such a hard pill to swallow, because what I said wasn't inaccurate. I was like, sis, who we going to marry? I was like, you say that don't date a non-Christian, but you're already married. And I was like, I am not married. We got a date who's in the pool, girlfriend. There's not a whole lot of options. And, she was just like, I don't think dating a non-Christian's it. And I was like, fair enough. And it took me, and I had that conversation like way back a year and a half ago with her. And it's really, I've been on a journey really trying to understand, because the Christians are fake Christians, they're not submitted. When I say fake Christians, meaning they're not surrendered to God. So Jesus saved me, but he's not my Lord Christians. Meaning I don't listen to Jesus, but he saved me, yay, but he's not my Lord. So how does that work with me if he is my Lord and he saved me? But, he saved him, but that's not his Lord. It's just two different types of people. Like, we don't have anything in common. So I was like, what am I supposed to do with that? And over a period of time, one day I wake up and God says, block them. That's all I know. That's all I know. That's all I know. I woke up one day and I didn't ask God. He just said, block them. I wasn't talking to God about it. I was working, and God's just like, block them. And I was like, okay. And I just went through and I blocked them all. And I have a feeling this is how God works with me. Sometimes he executes a change in me and I'm still processing it. But sometimes God executes a change in me and I don't plan on never going back. But then I look up and it's a year later and I never went back. Like, that's how I became abstinent, actually. I didn't plan on becoming abstinent. I didn't plan on it. But God executed a change in me and he just worked on it. And then a year later, I was like, oh, I've been doing this for a year already, huh? And then it's like, oh, I've been doing this for 2 years already, huh? So like, God just executed the change. And then I looked up and then time had passed and that this is my new normal. And I can never go back to what is not what God gave me as my new normal. What I think may have happened is, even though, like, my sis and me, we talked about this, you know, Christian versus atheist dating, Christian and non-Christian dating. Like I said, my sis was like, don't do it, sis, don't do it. And she is my sis, y'all. Like, she's not my blood sis, but she is like my sis. Like, this is my prayer warrior, my intercessor, my person. Her words carry a ton of weight. And I knew she felt my heart on what I was saying too. She understood what I was trying to say. So, what I've seen with God is when he executes on something with me, I don't have the full detail, and I don't always ask all the details. When he tells me execute, sometimes I just execute and then I wait. And then when I look up, whatever change had already been in motion the whole time, and then I can never go back. So what God may have done, and I'll tell you in a year if that's what he did. I'll tell you. I can't really tell you now because I'm still in it. That's the hard thing about being in it, but you will see. I'm honest, so I'll tell you in a year, but I think God cut off people who were lukewarm and people who were non-Christian. And I actually think I won't. I can never go back. I don't know that for a fact now, but I think when I say I can never go back, it's not just them. I think what's happened potentially, and I'll look up in a year, and I'll have clarity in a year, y'all. But I'll look up, and it'll be that I'll have the conviction that I can never do that again. Not because I am falling or did fall or will fall, but it's like once he draws the line, it's just God takes care of his kids. And it's kind of like you see a little kid in the street and you yank their arm, get out of the street before you get hit by a car. Yank them. As a parent, you just yank them out the street, right? They're 3 years old, they don't know any better. You just yank them. It may be that God just yanked me out of it. Does that make sense? He does that for his kids. I'm his daughter. So I don't understand everything because my little brain is small. So I don't know if he yanked me right now because I'm still in it. But in a year when my brain is more mature, more spiritually mature in that aspect, I'll look back and I'll be like, oh, God yanked me out of that. He doesn't want me to date a non-Christian. And that's okay. I think at the end of the day, what I'm realizing is it shrinks my dating pool, right? It limits my options. I'm aware of that. And it may mean that it may end up meaning that there is no husband. And I accept that too, right? So as I go through this, I'm processing it as well. That it is what it is. And I have to like be totally transparent. As I go through this, I'll do a look back at some point, and then I'll be like, okay, so everybody doesn't get married, guys. It is a fact. Not everybody gets married. It's not going to happen for every single person. And it's not the end of the world either. Like, God has big things for us. He's got big gifts for us. He's got fullness for us. So it's not the end of the world if it never happens. And if it does happen, it'll happen with whom he wants and on his own time. That's the thing. So what I'm observing is when something is coming and going to conflict with his plans for his daughter, he will cut it off. And like what I've observed him cutting off is he'll, like, if I'm dating someone and they lie to me, nobody can lie to me. And it's not because they're lying to me, it's because they're lying to God, and then God reveals it to me. So whenever they try to lie and hide and sneak, they actually tell on themselves. I'm not even looking. I'm not even like that person who's like looking to try to figure them out. They tell on themselves every time, and it gets revealed. And God does that. It's not me being so smart or something. God allows them to stumble and reveal themselves out of their own mouth. He does it, and I won't even be looking, and I'm like, oh, wow. So when he does that, I feel that God has revealed to me that for a reason so that I leave them. So I've been on that journey, and I've been shown that those people were actually their faith was corrupted, so it was like maybe they know God, but they are not in right relationship with him, and their faith was corrupted for sure. And God showed me that because he wanted me to move on. So I just moved on. I didn't say much. I just like, oh, okay. I didn't even give all the details. I just like, okay, You know, I give some detail like, okay, I noticed this, I need to move on, and say we're cool. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, I think what's happening is either either God does have somebody for me, or his decision is that like you don't get married, you don't get a second chance. It's okay. Either way, I'll be okay. Does that make sense? Sometimes we have to be careful because God's plans are not better than our own. So when we try to take it for ourselves, we risk something. It's not a riskless situation. If we snatch someone, you realize I could go out and entice a man and get a man right now. I could just not be online, put on me a cute dress, and go out I can entice a guy right now and have a boyfriend, like literally right now. So it's not hard to do. And the worldly thing that I still have that. I know how to flirt. I know how to go crazy. I know how to get the guys. I know how to do all that. So I know how to, but I'm not feeling led to do that. So I don't do it. Um, I think God might be doing something. Either he's preparing my person, bringing my person, or he's decided that she's one of my own, and that's it. Simple. She's one of my own. I'm keeping her for myself. And and for people who are in that situation, you're not going to die. If God chose you to be his own only one, then like it's not the end of the world. Like I know we have our worldly mindset of wanting to get married and stuff, but it's not the end of the world. Because if this is the plan for you, then there's no man that would have made you happy. Or if that's what God planned, then there's no woman that would make you happy. If that's what he ordained for you, then there's no one that's going to ever do it for you. Only God's going to do it for you. And your joy is going to be in the Lord. It's not going to be anywhere else. So I trust God I trust God like that. And initially I was still fighting it, but I'm not fighting it so much now. Like I'm noticing how God is removing people. And I'll like pray about something and God will remove people. And then now I don't even pray, he removes them. He removes them and he reveals their wicked ways. So when he reveals it, I have no choice but to leave them. And it's not because I have an unforgiving heart, it's because God revealed it I believe this. When God reveals something, when I'm in a state of sensing confusion, you guys know what I'm talking about. You start dating someone and you feel wibble wobbly, you feel like that shakiness. Like, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? When you're dating someone and there's utter confusion and it's all wobbly, and then you pray about it, and then God quickly reveals some truth, reveals something where you're being deceived or something, and you're like, oh, and you already had felt the wobble. You weren't quite certain what it was. You didn't want to jump to conclusions, so you were just pacing yourself, and then God reveals, and you understand he revealed it so that you make a decision to move away. You can keep that person if you want, but he gave it to you to protect you so that you move away. So that's generally what God does with me. Either I talk to him and he reveals that, and in some cases, like recently, like 10 days ago, I believe he just sees the things in advance and he's inviting me to cut it off. And I just did. I just did. I didn't ask any questions. And yeah, it's also the reason why I feel like I need to get out of Atlanta, to be honest with you. I need to get out of Atlanta because that's what's here. In Atlanta, that's all that I find here is the same thing. It's the same thing. And I'm not like you could look at it and say like, "Oh, am I in position to minister to people here because there's all that?" Like I've been here and I've ministered for a while, and I think this is what's up. I think you know how Sodom and Gomorrah, all that stuff got burned up or whatever. I'm not saying that's going to happen in Atlanta, but what I'm saying is like I think I've done my part. I think I've done what I needed to do, and that's it. I think I've done what I needed to do. People have to choose. It's free will. The message has been provided, and I did my part. And my job is done. That's what I think my job is done. My mission is complete here. And yeah, there's other souls. Like we're also not supposed to cast our pearls on pigs, so to speak, like meaning not like continue on messaging with where there's not like a voice. So yeah, I just don't think that's what's up. But Yeah, I don't know how to describe it, but I think that's what God's doing right now in this season. I think it's my second wilderness. I think I'm entering my I had a wilderness when I first got saved. So I think this I'm entering my second wilderness. So my circle is getting smaller again, and I'm not socializing as much with people. It's not I have nothing against them, but um I'm not feeling led to integrate myself back into it. I'm feeling led to just be like separate it. Separate it and separate, you know? So that's all. I think I don't think there's a lot of time left on earth though. I don't think there's a lot of time left. So I feel like I've done my part. A lot of things I did was just like pray for people and stuff like that. But I think individually people have to come to a place of repentance on their own. You know, God's working on hearts. He's not stopped. He's not given up. But I think my mission is complete here. That's what I think. I think my mission's complete. I don't really think there's more work for me to do here. All the rest of my work that can be done here can be done from online from anywhere. It's not like I need to be mingling in order to get the mission complete. I think the mission is done. Um, but that's what I think. I think I'm entering my second wilderness, and either that means that God has another like plan for me, or he's just setting me apart to grow me some more, because I had accelerated growth in my original wilderness. I had accelerated growth. So there's a lot of things I've been thinking about lately around. Um, I've been tinkering around thoughts around, and it's weird because I've been tinkering around thoughts that have been coming to my mind around like salvation and about the grace of God. Um, and weirdly, I'll stumble across videos right after I've thought that are like kind of referencing the position that I've been feeling. Um, and then even like my church was one of the last things I had in Atlanta, and I ended up, without saying the name of the church, I won't do that, but I ended up leaving my church because it's not that they were preaching something that was not biblical. It was that they were not giving a balanced view of the scripture. Their scripture was overly focused on grace, which I love grace, but it was overly focused on grace, and it was not focusing on um, growing a person who to become spiritually mature. So it wasn't a fit for me, and that was like the last little tether for me in Atlanta, because like I loved going to church here, and I left my church, and I'm like, okay, and now I've left my church, and there's like I've left my church. God's cut off some of the contacts I had here. He's literally just said sever this and sever that. So I feel that was like my last little plug was my church, and that was it. Like that's it. That was the last thing tethering me here. There's nothing else tethering me here, because I'm not doing like street ministry here or anything, so there's nothing else tethering me. So I think it's time to move on. So yeah, I think ministry wise, God will do what he's gonna do. And I think, to be honest, i think I think Atlanta needs men of God to change what's happened here. I think Atlanta needs men of God raised up. It's too, I'm not saying it's too big for me, but without a husband, the level of wickedness there is here. Do you guys understand what Atlanta has? I mean, we got cool fun nightlife and stuff. We do. But Atlanta is like the hometown for gentlemen's clubs. Atlanta is like the hometown for sexual immorality. You know what I'm saying? Like these are now, it's widely known. It's widely known that we're known for these things. So it was used to be California was known for these things. Atlanta is now known for these things. That means there's a principality over this place. You guys know what I'm saying? There's a principality over this place of wickedness. And you see the people that are functioning, they're walking it out. Does that make sense? So I feel like Lot picked based on the looks of a place, and he ended up, you know, Sodom and Gomorrah, you know what I mean? A town of wickedness. And you see what happened to him. He had to get rescued by Abraham and the trained men, 318 trained men. You see how that happened. Like, I've been here, I've been in church here, I've been doing ministry here, I've been in school here. And as time has gone on, I do believe there's a principality over this place. And I don't think it's too far gone for God. If God wants to like send in a remnant to raise people up to do better, do more, and change it, he will. I've done my part, but I am a woman, which is a different thing than being a man. That's number one. And in Atlanta, we need men of God raised up because they are the spiritual heads. If the men of God are not raised up to do this, I just don't know how us women are going to battle this thing out. Because even the men that I'm seeing that are supposedly godly are wicked. The men. The men are twisting scripture, guys. Like the men. So, little bitty old me, yeah, we're gonna pray for him and we're gonna keep it moving. We're gonna pray for him and keep it moving. But this place needs men. They need men of God to come in and uproot wickedness in a different way. And it's like, even if I was in ministry where I was out here 2x2, because, you know, God calls you into the street to do ministry, but 2x2. I've done some street ministry, but it's not perfectly safe for a woman, right? It's not perfectly safe for us. You need to have 2x2 going out and doing these kinds of things. So if you don't have that, then that means God hasn't given you the providence to do that work, right? Then I believe in God's providence. That means he's not giving you the providence. That means that's not your line of work. And at this point, when the fallen are fallen, that's understandable. But when those who believe that they are righteous because of the blood of Jesus, when they are also fallen, guys, what the heck are you gonna do with that? Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know if you can feel me on that. But when the people who believe that they love God are as fallen as the wicked, that says everything that you need to know about this place. So it's like 15 years ago, the big cultural shift was the amount of men who were down low. I don't know if you guys remember that. Do you guys remember that? The story was told on Oprah Winfrey show. Like that there were it was a high volume of men that were down low, and our HIV rates were way high up at the time. This is the conversations that were going on 15 and 20 years ago here. We are now 15 and 20 years later, and that was 15 or 20 years ago. Like, we're at the point now where there's really nothing here that's shocking. There's nothing shocking. Everything is okay. Like, there's nothing shocking. I don't know if people really get that. So, I believe there's a principality over this area. Is what I think. And I think there's a legal right for a principality to be working against this area, because once you have sin individually amongst people, and so many people are participating in that sin, it's like a tornado, and it's just swirling. It's swirling, and it's being fed by a principality, but then also the people are not, they're not setting themselves apart. They're not fighting back with the word of God. They, you know, the most beautiful thing I see is like 2819 church here, you know? That might be a place where it could start, you know? But we need a whole bunch of 2819 churches in Atlanta. We don't need just one. We need a whole bunch of them. We need a whole revival to break out, which can happen, by the way, guys. It can happen. I just don't know. Do you know what I mean? It's just hard for me to put it into words. I don't really have the whole words, but I believe that it feels like Sodom and Gomorrah here. So when you sit down and think about finding your person, and you're like, you know, Abraham himself didn't send this servant amongst Sodom and Gomorrah to find a wife for his son Isaac. He didn't. He said, let me send you to my hometown. Let me send you to my family to find someone, because over here people have the right values. So Do you guys hear what I'm saying? Like, the values are not there. You can't make that. You can't make that. The values are not there. The wickedness is run rampant. It's normalized. And there's nothing, it's normal. The fact is, I'm abnormal here. Totally a weirdo. I'm abnormal, and that's normal. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Oh, pretty good neighborhoods in PA. Let's go. Let's go. Um, Makes sense. I can understand that too. Legit zero peace, but oh yeah, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't know what else to say except for that. It's an interesting state to be in. I don't feel attached at all. So that's and then like I don't feel attached at all. I can remember at one time I felt attached to Atlanta. I don't feel attached at all because it's not a godly place. It's not. You know, maybe if you go up north in Georgia or further down south or west or east, it's probably different. It probably is. Smaller towns are always different than the big city, but big city stuff, it's not what's up. So we'll see. I mean, we'll see. It's always God's providence. But I think before you get a big blessing from God, I think you have to be willing to accept that you may not get anything. I think you have to be willing to accept that God is enough. Does that make sense? So if I'm thinking like, man, this place has been wild and wicked, blah, 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 this and that, I think you have to be willing to say that if I leave here, there's no better option. There's no better this. Like that you have to be willing to say that God is the only option and that's it. Like you're not gonna suddenly switch the place and like you may go to another place and it's the same culture. It may just be that this is now the culture in most big cities. It may just be that way. You know, you have to be willing to like love God more and just be okay with that. So I don't think you can go there thinking and saying, oh, you know, if I do this, then God will do that kind of thing. Nah. I think that we just have to pray that pray for people who are lost. I would say that. Pray for people who are lost, and I'm actually waiting for Jesus to come back personally. I'm waiting for Jesus to come back. I'm waiting for him to come back. I know there's part of me, that's the selfish part of me. Like I'm wait every day, I wait for Jesus to come back every single day. I'm like, Jesus, when are you coming back? But and we see some signs, but I'm just waiting for him to come back because you know this world seems super corrupt is what I would say. But that's just me. That's just me. When I look at the things and I see how people who follow him are supposed to be, I just like this world is just so corrupt. I don't even know what to say about it. So we'll have to wait and see. I don't know. What do you guys think? I don't know. I don't know. But you know, Atlanta is still like when you talk about it being a city of like economic prosperity, it is. When you talk about it being like just a fun city to like for socialites and stuff, it is. Like I don't mean to act like it depends on where you're at in life. If you're living the worldly life, then this offers you everything that you want. Like you got fancy houses, great jobs, good money, good nightlife, nice dinner places. Like if you're just trying to live the high life, this is a good place to live. Like if you just want to live like the like how does the world want to live? This is a great place to live. That's why I moved here. But like as you grow deeper with the Lord, you know, you do want to feel like you know where you don't belong. Does that make sense? You know where you're growing in the faith and where you have community and fellowship. And if I couldn't even get that at my church, I couldn't get community and fellowship at my church, then I'm like, you know, it's time to move on. But we'll see. Like 2819, I had never really gone there. 2819 seems like they're doing big things. So that might be the place, if there's going to be revival that breaks out, that might be the place that starts the revival. And definitely Atlanta needs one. They definitely need one. But they need particularly, I think men of God are a key to unlocking this thing here. Because you have to remember what are the women of God going to do if there's no men of God? That's not a me thing. That's all women of God. You know, what are the women of God going to do if there's no men of God to lead them? If they're leading them to sin, that's not leading them. You know, if they're like leading them to destruction, that's not leading them. They're better off just to stay with God. And so I think that's probably why God had me block people, because I think God's like, these people cannot lead you. You know, maybe they could lead someone else as they grow, because God's not done with them either, but they can't lead you. So just cut them off. So I think we have to look at that. I don't know. Let me know. Let me know. All right, peeps. It's getting late. So tomorrow's a work day. We're going to go in. Have a good night, TikTok. Thank you guys for joining. You guys hung on. You guys hung on with me. If you hung on this long, you should be on YouTube for when I do Bible study. I think I'm going to sit and read a little bit of Bible before I go to bed, but cuz I just want to. I probably stayed on a little bit too long. I should have been reading earlier, but that's okay. That's okay. All right, TikTok. If you guys are on TikTok still, then you should be subscribed to Victory Life Podcast 7603 on YouTube. You should hop on over here and subscribe. Victory Life Podcast 7603. Be sure to like the stream, share, all the good stuff. Okay, TikTok, I'm going to let you guys go, darlings. Y'all have a great night. We'll catch you next time. Oh, my peeps. Look at my peeps. Bye. They're out. Oh, my TikTokers. They're so sweet. They're so sweet, my TikTokies. My TikTokies. All right, guys, on YouTube, I already let go of IG. It ran out of time. It's just been doing that lately. I don't know what's up with IG, but it doesn't really want you to have a long live. It just like times you out, and I just didn't log back in because it was just too hard. And the phone's almost dead. So, anywho's, I'll catch you guys later over here, YouTubers. Bye, guys. Catch you later. Bye, bye. Happy